Welcome to BALLBUSTERS, episode 99. We're going places. P.S. It's going to be a while till we hit that 100, but we'll get to that later. As usual, if you'd like to support this channel, there are PayPal and Patreon links in the info box below. We got some open paneling going on here today, and another ball wrecker. What a surprise, huh? Shifted over to a partner in crime, the distinguished Nathan Oakley. How are you, sir?
Very well. Good to be here. Welcome, all the rest of the ballbusters on the panel. Everyone's been chatting away. Adam and Brian and Arwin. Good to have you all. Neil also.
Hey, everybody. Hey, Nathan. Hey, Kiwi.
I already said hello to you before.
Well, these are the pleasantries that we deal with at the beginning of Ballbusters. It's all very exciting, as you can all tell from the audience's perspective.
I don't think anybody
We're all
could hear
gender.
me on this stupid
Ready
show.
to go. Neil's already keen to interrupt me before I've even finished the first statement.
I don't know if I'm on mute or not. It's freaking hard. He's
Mic
going
check.
on with it.
You're not
Can you hear
on
me?
mute. Hey, Howard.
Hello, guys.
Wouldn't happen on Flat Earth debate. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I've run a much tighter ship.
You were a little bit low there, Nathan, coming on, but now you're up to speed, man. Loud and clear.
It's because there was so much rumpusing out to take charge. Sit up.
Ah,
A bit close to my mic. You know
Yeah,
how it
you
is.
got to sit up. No more relaxing with the feet up.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Because everyone's doing mic checks right at the beginning of a live show. We're all really pleased to hear. We're excited. Nay, the anticipation is upon us all because we're going to be educating you in the world of Flat Earth.
Nathan.
Again, before I've even finished the second statement, Neil's there. He's interrupting me.
Everybody
On
doesn't
form,
have a
Neil.
great
Thank you
chat
so
like
much.
you.
Yep, still in the same sentence. Going to be one of those shows with Neil
Yes.
continually interrupting me. Doesn't matter what the statement is. Arwin's going to get off the back of it. It's all go. It's like we only just finished the last live show.
That's right.
Yeah, you got all Friday's interruptions to get in.
Yeah, you owe us rumpus time, Nathan.
I hope you had a good day with Paula, mate, and happy birthday to her.
What'd you
Yes,
guys
thank you.
Happy
do?
birthday, Paula.
What'd you guys do? Did you go carnival or something?
We went into Birmingham, which is like my hometown, so it's the second biggest city here in the UK, and there's lots of stuff to shop for, which was what my wife wanted to do, so that's what we did. Didn't actually buy anything. The only thing we actually purchased or handed over money for was a Kentucky Fried Chicken, because my eldest daughter insisted, because she'd never had one, that we did go to Kentucky Fried Chicken, so that was part of the bargaining process to keep the two kids sweet, other than sweets. But no, she just didn't buy anything. And it's like, okay, did you actually enjoy yourself? She didn't purchase anything. This was me asking her. Like, oh yeah, I've got a lot of ideas. I was like, okay, you haven't purchased anything, but fair enough. You've got a lot of ideas out of it, and we've wandered around a lot of square footage of Birmingham, which is wonderful. But no, she had fun.
Did you take any of that KFC yourself?
Of course,
How'd you like it?
it's good here. So Birmingham's got a large enough black community to make the KFC good. If it's in a white community, I've got to be honest, they're crap. You know, it's over-greased and people don't buy it, so it's sat there forever. Whereas in the centre of Birmingham, you know it's going to be good. And just by the queue out the door, black people waiting for their chicken, I was like, that's where we need to be going. I keep putting it off every time my daughter says I want to go to KFC. Like, KFC is actually not that common here, and a lot of them are crap, like really crap. But the one in the centre of Birmingham is not. It was great, and the chicken tasted delicious. It was freshly cooked. Even the chips were good, which is saying something for Kentucky Fried Chicken because they're always awful. I mean, they were a 6. Don't get me wrong; they weren't McDonald's fries.
But surely the bonus of knowing your chicken was halal made you enjoy it just that bit more.
I don't think it is halal, and just because it's in
No.
Birmingham doesn't mean it's halal, does it?
Oh, UK KFC. Halal.
Is that right? You have to have halal chicken. I did not know that. It used to be a selling point when I was in Birmingham. The local Muslim butcher, you know, we made his money because he was a halal butcher. You know, he was doing the proper, you know, hanging it upside down and slitting its throat and all that sort of stuff, draining all the blood out. That's how he did it. Well, you know, because he was a Well, that was the name of the shop. It was the Muslim Butcher. Okay, but that's how they do it for all chickens now. Okay, fair enough. Very good.
The benefits of diversity.
Yeah,
Bless
definitely. I drove through it. It was really weird driving back through the part of Birmingham that I grew up in. And because it's such a large place, obviously your friends are spread out wide. We're driving for maybe an hour. And at the start of the journey, I'm like, yeah, this is about the edge of my stomping ground. And then miles and miles and miles and miles later, I'm like, now we're in town, and my stomping ground extended beyond this to about 5 miles beyond. You know, and I walked to all of it back when I was a kid. It's nuts now, thinking back, sort of 10 or 11-year-old me walking around the city centre on my own. But that's just how it was in the 80s, early 90s.
Nathan,
Anyway.
did you see the Telly Savalas tourism promotion of Birmingham? I sent it to you one time.
No, I didn't.
Oh, it's
Talking of
excellent.
tourism for Birmingham, we got to the Rotunda, and my brain went to what I experienced in Birmingham in the early 80s as a kid, which was lots of bombs going off. That's just how it was, right? So, bombs and bomb scared. Yeah, they are bloody Irish. Anyway, so I said to my daughter, I was like, see where that shop is underneath the Coke can, which is what I used to call the Rotunda, giant Coke-shaped building in the middle of Birmingham. I was like, yeah, that's where bombs went off. When I was a kid growing up, we were always ushered out of that because they were threatening to blow it up. She started crying, and I'm like, she shouldn't really be saying this. She's 6. But thinking about it, when I was walking around with my sister at about her age, at about 6, that's what I was experiencing. It wasn't a lie to tell her that's what I was experiencing at her age in the exact same spot. But there we go. Growing up in the 80s, eh?
You don't know how good they had it, do they, these youngsters?
Yeah, they're not going to be ushered out of a shoe store because there's bombs potentially there. They're never going to experience that. Good old days, I mean.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with Brian, by the way. Brian's from mainland Ireland, just to clarify. He has nothing to do with the Troubles.
No, actually, I ran into very little of it down here in Waterford.
I'd imagine it wasn't necessarily highly publicised in mainland Ireland anyway, would it be?
Oh, it was. It was every day. It was on every day on there was no end of it. But oh yeah, there was no end of it. I was like, I mean, I didn't run into anything. Like the only things I ran into would be things I remember at our school. They found lots of machine guns and all this kind of stuff. You know, there was them kind of things going on. You know, but there was no bombs here or anything else. It never reached past Dublin and Drogheda. Really, never got south or more south than Dublin and Drogheda. So I never experienced it, and I never went to Belfast because there wasn't any. There wasn't nothing, like, even when it was all over, I still have never been in Belfast. So I don't know what Belfast is even like.
All right, it's a right shithole. So the resentment level, even in the early 2000s when I was out there as a rep, you know, the moment they heard my accent, people with daggers drawn, and I was led to believe and told by many of the locals that it was still quite dangerous for me there. Now, I don't know how true that was. I survived. You know, I went and did my business and came back out again.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is that that's mostly just resentment or something. If you were somebody who was involved in military stuff or something like that, you know, then, you know, there would be intel on you and it would be dangerous for you. But if you just someone turned up in the city there, you know, you would have probably, the worst would have happened is you would have got somebody attacking you or something, but it wouldn't be trying to kill you. You know, I mean, Moscow, when you were in Moscow, that was way more dangerous. You know what I mean? If you think about it that
Definitely,
way.
and it
As a
felt that way.
civilian.
Yeah, I mean, there was I had a similar, you know, 1 in every 100 is going to be a bit of a troublemaker. Well, I had the same level of troublemaker-ishness in Scotland as I did in Northern Ireland from that point of view. The rest of the island's just, there's nothing to talk about as far as I'm concerned. It's just like being in the mainland England. It's just nothing key. Scotland, surprisingly, hold a lot of resentment for us. We all hate each other, really, don't we? That's the bottom line.
Them damn Scots.
Well, well, the thing about it is
they
that
hated me. I was there.
well, Scotland is bordering with England, so you're constantly mixing with each other, and so there's no way out of that. You know, whereas Southern Ireland, there's everyone here, everyone has relatives who are English. What I mean by that is that their parents might be Irish and they came from here, but they grew up in England. So I have loads of cousins, and they identify as Irish in Britain, but they'll still wear the England jersey and support the England football team because they grew up there. You know, you couldn't expect them not to. So everyone, so if I hear an English accent, it's here, like when I was younger, it would stand out a bit now when I was younger. I'm not going to say it wouldn't. It would stand out with an English accent, but because people were always over and back to England, especially South England from this part of Ireland, it wasn't any big deal. But in Scotland and up towards Belfast and that, yeah, you were running into more deeper territory there.
Yeah, like you say, Russia felt dangerous. Ireland, Scotland, you just feel it's still part of home, even though there's a bit of rivalry between the countries. It doesn't necessarily mean that you feel like you're actually in any real danger, or at least I didn't feel that way in Northern Ireland. It didn't make me feel uncomfortable. Not like being in Russia. That did to a certain degree in certain places. Anyway, I don't know how we've got on this subject.
Hey, Nathan.
Yes, Neil.
So you guys travel to countries like we travel to states? Is that how it is?
No, not at all. So if you're from either Ireland, mainland Ireland, and England, I'm going to exclude the Scottish and the Northern Ireland just for the sake of controversy. Anyway, Brian and I'll just speak for the people on the panel, in other words, right? Wouldn't necessarily be hopping over to mainland Europe. That would be uncommon for an Irishman or an Englishman to do, I would say. It's uncommon to just be pootling over. You might have some people who pootle over to France a little bit more since the tunnel. But generally speaking, no. We're not just travelling over and off to Spain in the car like you guys would cross state, like easily without giving it a second thought, right? With that, just wouldn't be the case here. You'd have to have a passport, which you don't have to have there.
Yeah, I mean, going to Spain or Italy or something for me would be close on flying to the US, because it would be not another world or anything, but it'll just be going to the US is only an extra couple of hours of a flight. If you were going to New York, let's just say, I mean, it's New York or Italy is probably close on the same distance from where I am, or maybe a little tiny bit further. But you're talking only a small bit more time on a plane, and you're in New York. That kind of thing. So, it's not. We're not hopping from. If you're living in Europe, in France or Germany or somewhere, yeah, you'll be going from place to place, maybe a bit more, but not us, not in Britain and Ireland.
I did actually do that. I drove all over Europe, but I'm the exception to the rule in that regard. So, I was, by comparison to your average Joe, I was James Bond by comparison. But no, it's not common to do that. And even in some of the European countries that I went to, they are actually reasonably territorial. In other words, they won't just hop over to France necessarily. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily any different to here in that regard. I was quite surprised. Although it is easier. But in the same way as I wouldn't necessarily find a reason to go to Scotland. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like that.
Yeah, like Arwen doesn't find, and Betty doesn't find loads of reasons to go to Belgium and France and wherever else. And yet they can drive there if they want, because they don't have to leave. They don't have to cross water to go there, other than the rivers.
No, you can't. What? Are you joking, right? For Arwen to get to Belgium, it'd be a massive pain in the ass.
No, it wouldn't be.
Not really. I mean,
No, it just goes south.
It would cost me some money for the train, basically, and yeah, I don't like traveling a couple of hours in a train, but I mean, I could get there if I really needed to.
Anyway, Europe's less connected than it might seem. Let's just put it that way.
Well, I think the infrastructure in the Netherlands is it's pretty good for the Netherlands, at least. I mean, I don't know for the rest of Europe. think it's probably not as good the more east you go and the more south you go. But I mean, around the Netherlands, like the roads are great. There's a lot of trains everywhere, including to Germany and to France. So it's not that bad.
Should have also mentioned we have a high degree of resentment to the Dutch. Sort of drop that in.
Yeah, that's why we kicked you out. It's called Brexit. Oh wait, you got out. Whatever.
Would it be a pain in the butt if you're driving, because you guys drive on the wrong side of the road? So what happens when you're driving and stuff? What happens then if you're going to Europe? Yeah.
Well, you mean in Europe where they're driving the same side as you are? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
You just drive on the other side of the road. I mean, I did get it wrong once with a car full of people and equipment, probably overloaded. I had my Retmobile estate car, which was very fast, with all of the. Where was I? Forget where it was. Somewhere in Europe. Anyway, it doesn't matter particularly. Dine Audio. Where was Dine Audio? Denmark. Anyway, drove on the wrong side of the motorway, or whatever they would call it, freeway, expressway. And the sat-nav went nuts, saying, went all red and flashing warnings and stuff. But I didn't know that I was going the wrong way, and no one in the car said anything to me. Eventually, I figured it out, obviously, and got off the next on-ramp. and then they told me, yeah, you were going the wrong way on that motorway. I'm like, holy Jesus. It was a good job it was like 2 o'clock in the morning or something, because there was hardly any traffic. But by the same token, I expected somebody to say something, because I'm going, what's wrong with this sat-nav? Why is it giving me a big red warning? As opposed to, oh my God, imminent death if someone's coming the other way. So
that's what I'm saying. You'd figure that would happen a lot, right? You'd figure that would happen more often, just by accident.
Jet lagged rep, 2 in the morning, doing tens of thousands of miles. It's just chance you're going to get it wrong when you're kind of in autopilot because of, like I say, 2 in the morning or whatever, and it's a foreign place, and you're worried about entertaining the people that you're trying to sell to, and you're driving them somewhere. Whatever, there was a lot of stuff on my plate at the moment that it happened. Let's just make some excuse up. It wasn't just me being an idiot.
It would still be strange driving on the other side of the road, because I don't know if that would be really frigging weird, because the steering wheel's on the wrong side.
Yeah, I mean, you just get
That's
used
what
to
I'm
it.
thinking.
Like I say, when I drove in the States, I obviously had the steering wheel on the correct side for your side of the road, but the confusion level's no different. Occasionally you might get it wrong. Not that I did when I ever drove in the States, I never got it wrong over there. I can only think of one instant ever that I got it wrong, but I was doing 150,000 miles a year. It's so many miles.
Right.
Occasionally you're going to get something wrong. You just hope that death doesn't follow.
Death doesn't follow. So we're going to go through and see how many people been in the States and what they think. So Nathan, obviously you've been, where have you been in the States?
I couldn't name them. I don't know. All over the States.
Really?
Yeah.
California?
No, I don't think I've been to California.
Texas?
No. Let's not do this. I've been to several states.
All right.
Anyway.
Yeah. What about Brian?
Yeah, I've been to California a couple of times, never been any other state. And I did drive. I heard a car, so the steering wheel was on the left hand side, which would not be our passenger door side. And the only issue I had with driving there was 2 things. And it's always the same. Each time I drove there, it was the same problem. Was I tended to lean the car towards the wrong side on the road. So I was bringing it too much to the right as opposed to keeping it to the left. And people were beeping at me. And roundabouts. Luckily enough, I've ran into very few roundabouts, because there's very few roundabouts around that I ran into in California. But
Right.
there was one really big one in Long Beach. And just for anyone out there, make sure when you're coming into the roundabout and you're on the other side of the road that you're not the first to hit the roundabout. Leave other people be ahead of you so you can copy what they do, because otherwise you might get there and go the wrong way.
Copy what they do. That's too funny. Yeah. Cool. Adam.
Yeah, you should be ashamed of yourself. It's pathetically easy. switch between the two. There's a simple rule. You want wherever you're driving, you're facing the oncoming traffic. That's the easiest way. If you ever forget, you want you to be at the white line, facing the oncoming.
That's not what I
It's
asked.
only ever difficult when I've drove my and even then it's not hard. It's just a bit more weird. When you drive in a right-hand side car in Europe, and it's a bit, but realistically, it's not hard. There's stuff coming at you if you forget.
I have a question about that. So in England, when there's like multiple lanes, right? Just for one side of the road and on the other side, do the faster cars also get to go on the inside, just like everywhere else? No.
The opposite.
No.
What? Okay,
No,
that is very confusing then.
It's the opposite. So when you drive in a UK car abroad, it's really good fun. It's like in Italy, in the autobahns, it's just a bun fight. But you undertake a lot better with a right-hand drive car in Europe. You're a bit more cocky. But no, everything's reversed in terms of the order. Remember, it was us that put the order first. It was you lot that reversed it. You didn't reverse your pedals, did you?
Right. So then you go faster on the left side as well.
No, right.
The right side.
Still overtake on the right.
Yeah, but if you're driving on the left side of the road, like if one-way road, the other way road, right?
Yeah.
Then when they're split up, right? Well,
Fastest
if
lane's
you're
the
going to be
right-hand
driving on the
lane.
left side, it's England. So on the right side would be at the inside of the road. It's closest to the other side of the road, even though there might not be an option to go there.
On a dual carriageway or a motorway, the two most inner lanes that are closest together, like heading towards each other, but with a barrier between them, those are the two fastest lanes in both instances.
Ah, okay,
It's
that was
reversed.
my question. Yeah.
Obviously, otherwise you couldn't get on an on-ramp. Anyway.
All right. I
Are
was
we going to
just
talk
checking.
about cars, or are we going to get into what's happening?
No, this is
I can't believe I just took the high road with on-ramp etiquette, given the story I told earlier.
Yeah. This is very interesting, and this needed to be sussed out. This is very important. I always wondered about this. So,
Right-hand drive cars are better.
what?
Right-hand drive cars are better.
Why? Oh, you weren't prepared for that, were you?
It isn't questionable. It's a statement of fact.
Yeah. All right, Adam, question. My question wasn't about driving to you. My question was, have you ever been to the States?
No. Simple answer that. I'd love to. My wife's been with work a few times and stuff, and we were supposed to go to New York for her 50th. And then COVID kicked off. That never happened. So no, I've never been. I'd love to go. Not at the moment though, if I'm being honest. I'd sooner wait till it calms down.
Fair enough.
Just imagine, on Discord, Adam, when you've got the slider to turn people down a little bit when they're a bit loud.
Yeah.
Imagine the world without that slider. That's what it's like in the States.
Yeah, that's what Bree said. She said I'd love it. Yeah, what I mean is, there's parts of the States that you like, the West Coast, that I wouldn't want to go to. Now, there's still huge swathes, Florida, Texas, that I'd love to see. I'd love to go. I want to go across and see like the biggest elastic band ball ever.
You're gonna pull a Chevy Chase.
Yeah. But no, I've never been. But it's not from desire or lack of.
All right. So if you were to go, let's say tomorrow, you could go to the States anywhere you wanted to go and pick one place to go. Adam, where would you go?
I'm not allowed to divulge your address on here, am I?
No.
If I'm where would I go? One place.
Yep.
That's a tough question. I think I'd probably go with the Grand Canyon.
I figured I knew that was coming from one of you guys. So Grand Canyon, okay, that's fair enough.
I've flown over the Grand Canyon on a clear day, so it's one of those where I didn't actually visit the Grand Canyon, but it was clear enough for the pilot to announce it for me to have a good look at it, which was spectacular, I won't deny.
Yeah, you have no depth perception.
Okay, well, it still looked glorious, nevertheless.
Okay.
From the aeroplane.
All
I
right.
flew over.
Fair enough. I seen it too, and was there. I stepped on it. So, Nathan, if you had what? Yes. If you were to do it again, if you had one place that you really wanted to go in the States, where would you go?
I'd go back to New York with my wife because she wants to go. Not that I particularly thought New York was particularly special, but it's a big city and my wife likes big cities. I presume because she'd want to go shopping. You know, that's what I'd do. I'd take my wife to New York because she hasn't been.
Okay, fair enough. Brian, I know you've already been, but if I gave you one more chance and one choice, where would you go?
That's a tough one, Kiwi, because there's so much of America I didn't see, but I still loved California. I suppose now that it's getting warmer, I'd have to go back to Los Angeles. If it was colder, I'd go to New York or Chicago.
Huh.
So that, yeah, because from Los Angeles, you can go to the mountains, you can go to the beach, you can go south, north. You can get somewhere once you can get out of the city.
Exactly.
So this time of year would be LA.
Yeah. Exactly. That's a good choice, and you're exactly right. You can go skiing and surfing all in the same day.
Yeah, exactly. And I would love to see Missouri, because my father used to live there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my father used to live in Missouri a few times. He lived there several times.
Did he adopt the mantra?
He tried to. He wasn't very good at it though. There's an Irish bar. Go on, sorry.
No. I just want to know if you know the mantra.
Missouri.
I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I know that. And you got a show in Missouri.
It's the show me state, Brian, for goodness sakes.
Oh, is it? Oh, sorry, I didn't know that.
We're home in the Missouri boat ride.
Is that the big ones with the big wheel on the back of them that go up and down, the steamers go up and down the Mississippi?
I don't know, the Mississippi and Missouri.
Is it? I thought the Mississippi was in Missouri, or part of it.
Listen, I'm not from Missouri, so that I claim ignorance. I don't think it may border it. Okay, I'm gonna have to look.
This is exciting.
It is.
Went to a New Year party in Miami, and at midnight at New Year, turned off the lights, and then 4 6-foot-plus black men in wedding dresses bungee jumped into the arena, and then it snowed.
Then it snowed?
Yeah, inside the arena, with the men, black men in white wedding dresses, angling from bungee ropes. It snowed. It was pretty nuts.
That's friggin' strange.
What?
In that club, right?
Hold on, I just came back in and all I hear is black men in white wedding dresses. Then it snowed. I missed.
That's right. That was in, I think that was in 1999, and the club, which went to with these 2 girls, me and my brother and I. Anyway, we got there and there was no taps, or they had taps, but they had all the tops taken off them, right? And we were taking illicit substances, shall we say? We needed some water, and I went to the bar, and I think there was 5 of us. I ordered 5 waters, and the bill, this is in 1999, was $125 5 waters.
5 waters.
Wow.
This is in Miami.
All
I
right.
did that in the UK, mate. They used to take, because that's all clubbers would need was water. They used to take all the go to the toilets, and there was no water available. Well, you'd need to fill up one bottle, wouldn't it? Dance all night.
Right.
Good days.
All right, I was correct. Mississippi River is the eastern border of Missouri. And I have seen the Missouri a few times. You can see it in St. Louis. It's right there. So sorry for my ignorance. I did cross it a few times. I should have known that as a proud Missourian.
So the Mississippi St. Louis is on the Mississippi River? Is that
Yes.
wrong?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if my father was a lawyer.
No, he's not. He's not a liar. It is the east. Seriously, it is the eastern border, almost the whole way down. I think all the way down, to the Boot Hill. Yep. So it's a little bit off up in the northeast part of the state, but that's only a few miles. So it is the eastern border.
Because my father was on one of those boats, those big river boats that they steam powered, a big wheel at the back.
Yeah.
You know the way they push it. Yeah, he was on one of those years ago, back in the 80s, a few times. So I remember him telling me about it. So that's the way it was in my head. Yeah.
Yeah. Steamboat Annie.
Yeah.
Is that by Ozark? Is that show Ozark was made based around that area, correct?
Don't know. Didn't watch it.
Yeah, all around Missouri. Actually, it was a pretty good show. You should have watched it.
Alrighty then. Glad we cleared that up.
Yes.
Is there any particular reason we discussed our hometowns and stuff? We're all feeling nostalgic for any particular reason?
I just want people to know a little bit of background of the distinguished guest we have on the panel. I think it's personable.
Why? Nobody knows you're from Pittsburgh?
No, not me, Neil. The rest, our European friends.
Who cares where they come from?
Jeez, I do. I always wonder what kind of squalor these guys are living in.
Bunch of tosses anyway.
Neil, if you had a chance to go to the States yourself, what's one place that you would go to?
Oh, I'm going to the UK for sure.
You wouldn't get in.
You're not talking about America, right? You're talking about if I could leave America, right?
No. I said if you had
mean
one
nowadays?
chance. Yeah, if you had one chance, where would you go?
I haven't been to California yet, so I do want to go there or Arizona.
Fair enough. Who else we got in here?
Okay.
Oh, Nathan wants to stop it right in its tracks. We don't have
I do, yeah. As fun as this is.
it's just so much fun. So what do you suggest we do?
Ballbusters. We should be talking about how...
Yeah, flat Earth.
Not necessarily flat Earth, but ball busting at the very least.
That's a fair point.
Play the goddamn clip then, QE.
I ain't playing.
Right, is there a clip?
I don't have. Well, I sent the clip to you from Matthew. Did you listen to it?
Got it. It's just when I was on my iPad, I couldn't play it. It just, for some reason, your clips won't play on the iPad. They'll only play on the computer. I don't know why.
Is it just mine?
No, I haven't. I saw you sent it, but I didn't. I tried to. I try every time. I press play every single time. It never works.
You want me to play it? I gotta go find it.
Yeah, I'll listen blind. Why not?
All right, hold on. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
The idea of celestial navigation on a globe, which I understand you disagree with, doesn't use right triangles.
What What the hell did you just say?
The idea of celestial navigation on a globe, which I understand you disagree with, doesn't use right triangles.
From second grade doofus, well, duh. A right-angled triangle is a triangle with one of the angles as 90 degrees.
Okay, so you also mentioned celestial navigation. Do you know what an elevation angle is?
Yeah, it's how high above 90 degrees a star appears, like the angular elevation.
So 90 degrees would be the zenith, and 90 along a baseline to your position, correct?
Yeah.
From second grade doofus, well, duh. A right-angled triangle is a triangle with one of the angles as 90 degrees.
90 degree from that position on the Earth to the star is straight up. That's 90 degrees, yes. The idea of celestial navigation on a globe doesn't use right triangles. The position directly under the star is 90 degrees.
From second grade doofus, well, duh. A right-angled triangle is a triangle with one of the angles as 90 degrees.
90 degrees, that's 90 degrees, yes. 90 degrees doesn't use right triangles. 90 degrees, that's 90 degrees.
Thank you.
The baseline we will be travelling along and are navigating is functionally and mathematically flat, isn't it, Matthew?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So
yeah,
Earth, that would be the Earth. That would be the Earth that we will be navigating is flat, isn't it, Matthew?
Yeah, we're navigating on the Earth, and functionally it's flat, and we navigate along a flat map, of course.
Welcome to Flat Earth, Matthew. That's correct. From a university-grade mathematician, for all of you ladies and gentlemen, that will be trimmed out and posted everywhere. That's a university-grade mathematician telling you, the audience, that Earth is functionally measured and navigated flat. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Of course, that's why all maps are flat.
It ended on the live stream.
Yes.
More?
Yes, no, that's it. I waited for you guys to catch up.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that 10 seconds of dead air we apologise for?
Nah, we're good. I'm okay with it.
There's no fine coming from YouTube for it, so.
Yeah. So, in honor of Matthew and his train wreck, they don't use right-angle triangles in celestial navigation, and just friggin' train wrecking himself. The double-speaking doofus. Too funny.
Yeah.
There's a comment to... Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's a fun one, but I did not really appreciate that sudden extreme loud, shouting one, because that's not really pleasant. It's not funny.
I
It's just
thought it
really
was
jarring.
right on time and frigging hilarious. I nearly pissed myself here when I made that up.
Yeah, but it's not very pleasant though.
Yeah, it is very pleasant. It has a lot of memories for me.
Those of us who've kept up to date with the Flat Earth debate, plug, subscribe today, Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, will have known this since 2021. So I think that's when 10th Man dubbed it the year of the sextant. The argument started to be perpetuated throughout the realm of YouTube in the comment section. And I can't remember if it was somebody that was actually chatting about it in Discord or if it was actually in a comment. But our opponents basically said, don't mention 90. It was verbalized by one of our opponents. I'd love to. I'll grill Tenth next time I speak to him about who it specifically was, if he can remember 2 years back. Literally, it was one of our opponents. Like, just don't mention 90, okay? Before we put the argument out.
Eli heard it from Professor Phil Bell and some others. I think it was Professor Phil Bell said, "Don't mention 90." He was there either talking to Eli or Eli was listening in, and that don't mention the 90.
I didn't think a Baltard said that.
Yeah, that's why I thought it'd be useful to drop in right about now, because of obviously concession from Matthew. The devastating fact is 90 doesn't work on a sphere. So when he made the original statement in your clip saying there's no 90, yeah, there is a 90, it just doesn't work on a sphere. That's where the problem lies. And for those on our opponent's side that recognised that early on in 2021, their response was, don't mention 90. It would be a problem. We wouldn't want to argue about it, sort of thing. Like it was Eli picked up on it, and then it got entered around flat Earth debate because of that particular anti-flat earther in that instance saying it, literally saying, don't mention 90. And obviously all of our ears prick up. What's that? You don't want us to talk about 90. Hey, everybody! They don't like 90 degrees. All right, over here. How are you? So it goes on.
Yeah. Too funny. Like I said, I'm surprised. Are they that dumb? That's rhetorical.
They are.
Hold on. That's a good question. Because is it stupidity? And they've recognised to the point where they can say, best not argue about 90, could be a sticky wicket. That's recognising the problem. So at that point, is it stupidity?
I'm sorry, I didn't know what the context was when the friggin' knuckle dragon Phil Bell said it. Did somebody, a flat earther, catch him saying it while he was in a conversation with other baller or ballers?
Eli did.
Eli.
It was Eli. Yeah.
It was Eli. Got it.
I do vaguely remember it. Again, I'll grill Eli on it. But yeah, we adapted it. Or adopted it, I should say, off the back of another baller saying it.
That is
what they've.
Go ahead, Brian.
I just want to say what they've tried to do since then is try to say that you can just take an angle off the vertical and completely ignore the horizontal. You don't need that for a vertical. That's what they've tried to do. How can you have a vertical without a horizontal?
And what this numpty was doing, Matthew Weathers, and I caught him during it, but there was so much, Nathan was going at him, and I didn't want to distract. I got it in that he was intimating that the angle was a point. And it was so, some of the things that you hear are so stupid, they kind of catch you off guard. You really don't know how to react. And it took a couple of times of him saying it, and I re-listened to it, and he definitely did explicitly. He didn't explicitly state it, but he said it in a roundabout way that the angle was a point. I don't think he knew. I really don't think he knows, and this is scary, that an angle is not a point. The angle, the 90-degree angle, is the relationship at the vertex between the 90-degree zenith of the star from the ground position and, this is very important, the baseline of the triangle.
Let me break that down in English, those of you who don't speak navigation. So if you're stood looking at the night sky, and let's say above your eye line, so let's say it's like 45 degrees, there's a star. Yeah? You're looking out towards the horizon, and above the horizon, there's a star. You're just looking at it. So imagine you do the old Sikh Heil, you put your hand up in the air and get it above so that you're making an angle. Yeah? But the base of that angle is going to be running along the ground out towards that star and where the star is above. So again, you imagine you're looking out, you're looking above the horizon at a star, you're forming an angle. with one line running flat along the ground and one line running up towards the star. Well, at the position of the star, it's going to be, for the sake of this discussion, round below the star. That's the ground position, or GP of the star. Or in other words, if you were at that position, you could lie on your back and the star would be directly above your position at the star. Yeah? Obviously, you're measuring the star, but just so you understand. Between where you are and that position that I just described, someone else on their back looking up at the star, that forms a triangle. There's you, your arm doing the C curl up towards the star, a flat baseline out towards where there's a guy lying on his back and the star's directly above him. And then there's a line going up towards the star. We've got a triangle. The point where the guy's on his back, that's 90 degrees. In other words, where that position on the ground is, we've got a line going up. The guy's looking up on his back towards the star and out horizontally back towards the position that you are measuring that star. That's a 90-degree necessity for the functionality of celestial navigation. That 90 can't be there if Earth's a sphere. Doesn't work. In essence, that is the end of the argument. In order to perform celestial navigation, Earth is flat. Not, in the question, assuming flat, a prerequisite. It must be functionally flat in order to perform this operation. Because at the point that the guy is below the star, on his back, looking up, he's got 90 degree. His feet point out towards you, and his eye line points up towards the star. That's a 90. Something they cannot mention on a globe because they haven't got one. It's a requirement to do this form of navigation. Hopefully that's dumbed it down a little bit for those of you watching that don't understand what we phrased it as with zenith positions and ground positions and so on and so forth.
Well, it's a necessary antecedent. Hold on a second, Brian. It's a necessary antecedent to acquire an elevation angle, period. You can't have an elevation angle without a horizontal plane. That's it. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. When Matthew Weathers is talking about the 90 degrees being a point, he's talking about his position with his zenith, which is a direct vertical up through his body.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Not his position. He was saying about the position of the star. Go back and listen to it and catch him.
Because I thought he was talking about himself, because that's what they're trying to. That's what all the ballers try to do. They try and just take an angle off of their zenith and try and pretend they don't need a horizontal. Yet the angle is going to be based on 90 degrees.
Yeah, there's still. It doesn't matter anyway. It's still. Go ahead.
Let me paraphrase back what Matthew said to Brian, so he understands. I'm asking him if at the zenith position, because I'm poor in my phraseology, I meant ground position, but I asked him if at the zenith position of the star, meaning my former description, the guy on his back below looking up, at that position, you have 90 degrees, don't you, Matthew? And he says, at that point. That's his response.
Yeah.
The way it's phrased, he hasn't explicitly stated that the ground position of the star meets the Earth at a point, which would be one line. Obviously, you're not at that position, you're measuring it, and you've got a flat baseline between you and it for it to have a 90. I'm asking him, you've got a 90 at that zenith position, right, Matthew? He's like, at that point.
Okay, I stand corrected. Sorry.
No, Brian, it's a good point that they revert to, because they try to take the angle off of the observer's zenith, which is perfectly legitimate. You do it from plumb bob, and it's the same as deriving the co-angle, okay, which is what you're going to use to calculate the distance anyway. And they pretend that by some way of using your zenith, that we're negating still the basic geometry. Instead of using the surface as the flat baseline to calculate the 90, we take the observer's zenith, and the star. Okay, and the line from the observer's zenith to the star is that flat baseline again. Okay, it's still flat up there. If you want to reverse it and take the co-angle, you don't prove anything else other than it's also assumed we've got two parallel. We've got the surface, we've got the sky map, yeah, and they are two parallel surfaces. That's why it works.
Matthew tried to subtly sneak in reciprocating zenith angles, and before he got there, you can hear it on the recording. Adam's, oh, you got parallel zeniths. Oh, you've got to have parallel. You can hear him in the background. It's great.
Yeah,
Cutting him off from the sidelines. Adam's cutting him off before he gets there.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to deal with it thanks to Adam.
Yeah, Adam was all over that, right? But you wanted to deal, you didn't want to get there yet because you had other business to take care of.
No. As soon as I heard it, I know well, I wouldn't say this live while the guy's there, but I know the ramifications of Adam heckling it from the background, right? Because I know that's now dealt with, because he knows he can't go there. If the hecklers are trying to get at him for it, right, the last thing he's going to want to do is start to appeal to reciprocating zenith angles. And the last thing he's going to do is go there, because I heard it. So I'm like, no, we're not getting there yet, Adam, or something. Because I just fobbed Adam off.
Yeah,
it's like when I'm in the debate and or in the show, and we're having a little back and forth with someone playing devil's advocate, and they're like, "Well, I'm just putting the point of view of the glober." Well, when I fobbed Adam off, I don't say it to him, but secretly I'm going, "Yes, thank you, Adam. Yes, yes." But I'm fobbing him off at the same time to make it seem unimportant.
Yes.
To our opponent.
Yes.
Do you see where I'm going?
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of you went. Yeah, we'll get to that. Don't worry.
yeah.
I just fobbed you off, basically. Yeah, I fobbed you off.
But you did it in a way that was like, don't worry, I'll be slapping him around the head with that in a bit if he wants.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It was pretty powerful. Yeah, it wasn't insulting at all. I liked the way you did it.
But for the fact that Adam was heckling that in the background, he could sense he was going there, though, right, Adam? I'll hand him back to you, I promise. He was going there. That's why you heckled it, because you sensed it. I did too. I knew where he was going, and so did you. It was priceless.
And that's all I wanted to get in. I didn't want to make a point. I think I start prefacing with Nathan, you know what I mean? Remember our Virgin Zenith. Because it's just to put the willies up them, because they will. You can smell sometimes. And you're on it. You're in one zone. So the panel members just can smell sometimes where they're going to go. Part of the fun.
Let's just break this down again for those of you who don't speak navigation. Again, we're back to the description of the guy on his back looking up at the star that you're measuring, right? Your mate's over there, hundreds if not thousands of miles away, believe it or not. He's looking up and he's got a line up to the star because he's on his back. Well, now you're going to lie on your back and look up because you have what is known as a zenith. That's the line that runs up from your position up through your head up towards the sky. What Adam's just described is the fact that you have a 90-degree between your position, your zenith, and the star and its ground position. In other words, you're lying on your back looking straight up. You point your feet towards your mate's feet. You're both looking straight up and you've both got 90-degree to each other. In other words, you're making a box. Yeah. The roof has also got 90 degrees, if you will. So two lines, this is the most important bit. One coming down from the sky to your position, and the line coming down from the star to your mate's position. Those are parallel with one another. They are obviously with 90-degree between them, proving that the ground has to be flat between them for that to function. Again, on a spherical surface, they're pointing away from each other, no longer parallel. And in order to have 90 degrees, it must be parallel. Back to the prerequisite or antecedent, as QE described it, of a flat plane in order to measure an elevation angle. In other words, for your line to go up towards the star and have the position below the star be 90 degrees, it must meet back at your position to have it be a right angle triangle. That means Earth has to be flat to do this for it to function at all.
Just to confirm that, I mentioned the co-angle, and this is the point. We measure the elevation angle. That's lovely, it's useful, but we're going to take that co-angle to calculate our circles of equal altitude, which is what we're going to then use to get a fix. The only way we can get that co-angle is we take our elevation angle and take it away. It comes back to the beginning from 90. These 90s are fixed for a reason, because we've got parallel lines, parallel zeniths, parallel surfaces, the sky and the surface we're navigating. That's why we've got 90 degrees. That's why once we've measured one angle, we've only got to take it away, figure out its co-angle.
What
You
they
times it
do.
by 60. That's it.
Yeah.
Times it by 60 gives you the radius. So you've got the area circle.
In nautical miles, yeah.
Nautical miles. I always get that bit. I should always add that bit. 60 is the nautical. The original is the easily divisible one. So 60 is nautical. I will eventually remember that.
Why they like so much of weather is wants to talk about a point and the vertical at making a 90 degrees at a point is because immediately what they're doing is they are putting themselves in orthographic view, and they are in their minds they're measuring an arc along the sky that is going to be then an arc measurement along the surface of their globe from a central point. So the only horizontal they're going to address would be the one through their equatorial plane. They won't address the fact that you need a horizontal to do the measurement in the first place. They won't address the dip correction. They won't address any of those things. They'll only address the horizontal and vertical that meet at their equatorial plane. And by hijacking the celestial sphere model and ignoring perspective, they're going to create two arcs, one in the sky and one along the surface of their globe. And they're going to just work from there and ignore all of reality, how they got to that point. Which is my question for them, and has been for a good while now, to all of them, is where did you get the arc length? Because for them to explain where they got the arc length from, they have to go back 2-3 steps to where they had to use the 90 degrees on the surface of Earth and use Earth at 90 degrees, 290 degrees along the surface of Earth. So to do that measurement, you need a 90 degrees. But they want to ignore that and just go straight to their center point, and then ignore that even and go straight to an arc length measurement along the surface of a sphere. But they can never answer.
I'm going to have to do a lot of translation again for those who don't speak navigation on a bastardized sphere, which is what Brian's talking. This is getting high level complexity now. Okay, you're back at your boat or wherever you are, measuring your angle to the star. Right. Well, when you measure your angle, back to you sticking your arm up in the air and then having a horizontal come out from your eye line to your guy's feet or whatever, yeah? Well, that's your angle, okay? The angle is the measurement between the two straight lines. One is your arm and the other runs along the ground to your mate. That's the angle. That doesn't, as we've just described and make explicitly clear, work on a spherical surface because the baseline would be curved and you can't have it be curved because it won't meet at a right angle. Okay. You're a globe believer and you ignore that step. You start the process that angle. Forget the fact that you've stood with your arm in the air and measured your angle between the ground, flat baseline, and the star. That's your angle. Forget that. Just ignore that. Get out of your mind that it even happened. Just remember the number you got. Let's say it's 45 degrees. Okay? Forget that you measured it along a flat baseline. Forget that the zenith point of the star or GP of the star is 90 degrees to your position. Forget all of that. Now take that number, 45, put it at the molten iron core in the center of a sphere Earth on a different flat plane called the equatorial plane. All with me so far? We're now in the middle of a sphere. Okay. And that 45 now represents protractor sat at the center of that sphere. So as you move a degree, turn the protractor about the axis of the ball that you're standing in the middle of. All clear? And that gives you the outside edge of your protractor being the edge of the Earth that you're no longer standing on. And beyond that, it's the sky that wraps around that in a ball. Now, we have called that, fondly, the globe burger because you are on an equatorial plane. That's the meat. Around you is the bun. That's your globe Earth. And around that is your celestial sphere. Ultimately, that's what has happened when Brian describes taking it to an arc length around the edge of a sphere that's redundant when you're stood at the center of it on a flat plane called the equatorial plane, measuring the angle out towards the surface that you're not using and then further out towards the stars in that model in orthographic view. I haven't made that any more dumbed down or less complicated, Brian. I tried.
Well, you kind of can't. The only way, Nathan, for someone to understand that is to see it. To see what's happening in orthographic view, let's just say in reality, and then see what the globe are trying to do. It's very difficult to do.
You summed it up earlier, Brian. You summed it up in the first bit. You said, and that's the truth. This is the arc we see in the sky, right? They'll take that and those angular changes that form the arc. They will say there is no perspective in that. All those angular translations only equate to Earth curvature. That's the fundamental principle of what they do. Once they've done that, the net consequence of what they have to do is still find a flat plane. And the only way you can get those angles to translate anywhere to make any sense is to take them to the meat in the burger, as Nathan says, to the center by slicing the Earth in half and translating all of those angles to that point. That's how you ignore perspective and turn it into Earth curve. Well, we have to take it.
Well, I've focused a lot, and I'm not going to do any more, I don't think, on the dip correction. And the reason I focused on that is because what they try and do, if you hold them in a corner, they try and say, well, we use a tangent plane, you know what I mean, before on the surface, because they want to believe that they're making a tangent. It's basically what they're doing is they're trying to claim, whether people realize this or not, some of them are actually trying to claim that the horizon is a point of geometric tangency. That's what they're trying to claim. Some of them, that's because they don't actually understand what they're saying. The ones that do,
As that geometric horizon working out for you, Rufy. Good, yeah, good.
As soon as they're there, right, they're done, aren't they? As soon as you've got something to say that, you don't need to go any further. You can laugh.
Well, I could take it two directions from there. Once they either, whether they're talking about a tangent plane, a tangent plane is touching their horizon at a point, which they can't do. And as soon as I correct that, they're gonna, and I tell them, no, it has to be at your feet if you're going to claim it at all. And then if they agree to that, I'll say, well, the fact you're claiming a tangent plane means that you're admitting that that this measurement cannot take place on the curved surface of a globe. But then I point out that even under all those conditions, they can't claim a tangent plane, because the dip correction requires, it doesn't matter whether you're bringing the vertex down to the water or the line up from the horizon up to the oil line. It doesn't matter, because of how the dip correction is, the horizon and the GP, but the horizon has to be in a horizontal with the water underneath the boat, because the correction is only for the height of the eye above the water underneath the boat. That is the only correction. That you can't have a situation where the horizon is below that, below the elevation of the water underneath the boat. It can't be anything below. It has to be in a horizontal for that correction to work. Whether you're bringing the line up or the vertex down, it makes no difference. The correction doesn't change, and that kills them all. So then all you get is just abuse, often personal abuse.
Wasn't it a time where they were getting confused with the arc length of the tool with the surface of the Earth, and it was really funny? Who called them out on that one day? Was that you, Nathan?
It's something to be called out on. That's the basic fundamental principle of what they're doing. So when they convert an elevation angle measurement with parallel zenith lines between your position and the star's position down to the globe burger, that is essentially turning the elevation angle measurement into the curved surface of the Earth. So you've given a summary as opposed to an argument. That's what they do. That's what they do in the geometry. That's what they do in the books on page 87 after they've described it all on a flat plane. That's the magic trick that you've just described as opposed to a single man's argument.
Well, thank you.
I think that's what me and Brian. I reiterate Brian's point. That is the trick. It's the old statement: perspective hijacking. Yeah, just things on the surface in the distance. This is what they do with the stars, luminaries. Yeah, they're coming and going. Yeah, and that angular change in the sky that generates that as they rotate above us is attributed to the curvature of the Earth. The only reason, remember, they've put these things at infinity. So the only reason they could possibly change is we're on a curved surface in their maths. And that's what their maths does. That's why it goes to, not why it goes to the equatorial plane, but why they stick it where they stick it.
They're at the
in
centre.
description.
Exactly. At the centre of their model, way that the stars are functioning, you're rotating the ball as a protractor around you. So that every degree it moves is a surface movement of the curved surface of the protractor, being the curved Earth that it's representing in their model. So they've literally turned the arc of the protractor when measuring an angle off a flat baseline into the arc of the curved surface. So it is directly comparable to the begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator when they take the angular relationship of perspective when things disappear against the deck. They've done one and the same thing. It's just an alteration in terms of how it's done. At the surface, it's done at the surface, comparing Muppet vision with a perspective view, with the angular relationship as things get smaller into the distance transposed into Earth curve, as opposed to celestially, where they put you on a flat plane at the center of Earth and rotate the surface of Earth around you as though it is the protractor, and the arc is the curve of the ground, not the measurement that you measured with your tool on a flat plane. It's a very clever magic trick in both instances. And I don't know if Adam will agree with me, I'm no mathematician, but I admire the beauty of the hoodwink. Maths is quite elegant.
Well,
It's
sorry.
beautifully transposed. But it's that transposition where things, I see the biggest faults. Or the biggest excuse. You could do these angular changes just on an orange and point it to your light in your kitchen, like thing you did, and you will see differences in the equatorial plane of your orange to you on the pole of your orange, for example. Have to go to infinity. And it's this denial of perspective that allows infinity. It's very clever, very clever, because it translates very well, exactly the same. It does require a complete ignorance of perspective for their mathematics to have any validity. As far as I'm aware, whenever I observe things, perspective's in play. So it's a good switcheroo.
What they do is, besides ignoring perspective, like they ignore perspective and then try and claim perspective when they need it on their model. They can't. There's no such thing as perspective on the globe model. It doesn't exist.
There is no globe model.
Yeah, well,
I hate to interrupt you, but every time I hear that, I just gotta stop everyone. But we understand, Brian. Go ahead.
On height of eyebrow, they don't employ it there. You know, irrespective of how we view that, from their description of it, it's orthographic again, isn't it? Their height of eye correction. It's not perspective. There's none in it again. Even if you accept their claim, they're looking at a geometric horizon. It still doesn't invoke any form of consideration for perspective.
Well, what's funny is the table I sent you recently, Adam, is that the maths are for the distances to the horizon on that table are all horizontal. They're all height of eye above a horizontal baseline, and they're all in nautical miles. Because what they try and do is it's the same thing as with air travel, and that they have to hijack what they're calling great circle routes. Which are just horizontals. That's all they are, those great circle routes. They're just because what they need to do is hijack the directions where they will always be able to match the distances, as in they'll always be able to make, let's just say, the nautical miles match the statute miles if they're working along longitudinal distances, for instance, or even if they're...
No, these are geometric. I've just pulled it up. The geometric lot, 0.3 meters, which is 1 foot, is a distance to the horizon of 1.2 nautical miles. That would appear bowl-shaped.
No, because that's just a distance to it. That's just a distance
That's what
to
I mean.
the
So
point.
this a claim it's geometric. Looking at the numbers, I just pulled it up because I hadn't looked at it. What's your Irish stuff that you sent me the other day? Not this. I could look at it, but it looks. Let's have a little look there. Let's go to about 9. About 9.
Well, Adam's muttering. Brian's already said it. This takes place below surface level.
Well, this is no. That's the point I'm trying to say. If that's what they're doing, it has to, and that's what it looks like to me, Brian. That they're invoking, looking down further and further the further you look, to a geometric horizon, which therefore, obviously, from the second as millimetre past your feet, occurs below surface level.
But that was my point with those maths. It can't be, because it's a dip correction. The dip correction, for that to work, because that's a depression angle correction. That is a depression angle, regardless of what way you work it mathematically. You have to correct for that, and that means that the horizon has to be in a horizontal with the water underneath the boat. So regardless of what
the horizontal, exactly. This is something that John's been labouring. I'm glad there's now overlap because this will spread a bit quicker. Right. So when you do the dip correction, you're correcting to the horizontal. Absolutely correct. Well, where's the geometric horizon? How's that geometric horizon working out for you? The physical limitation tangent point horizon. Below that horizontal. What is that horizontal? Surface level. So the geometric horizon, tangent point, earth curve, edge horizon, exists in the maths below surface level. This is where the overlap comes in, because Brian's talking about the dip to the horizontal, and John on a refractive curvature has been talking about the tangent point below surface level. Well, they're one and the same thing, because the surface level is this level that Brian's talking about for this correction.
Yeah.
We're all one and the same thing. Everything always comes back to the requirement for a flat plane. You can never escape it.
I kind of get right. Okay, so right, if that's the case, and what happens with height of eye? The higher we go, and there is only one point where surface level occurs, and that is at their geometric horizon, because the observer's feet aren't on the surface, and they're generating a tangential plane from them to their geometric horizon, then past it. And the only point of intersection with their tangential plane they create is the point at the horizon, the geometric horizon. Everything else is below surface level. Before the horizon and after the horizon, everything else is below surface level. It's only at horizon point that their tangential plane would be at surface level.
You explained that very well. I seen that whole thing in my mind as you were explaining it.
Well, I tell you, the biggest hoodwink that they do, if you match what they show in those tables with their refracted horizon, their 7/6R, right? If you match them with that, I can state with certainty at lower elevations. I don't know about higher elevations, because the height of eye correction only goes up so high because ships and that are only so high above the water. But if you match them, they match nearly identically. Because what are they trying to do with standard refraction? They're trying to create, basically what they're doing is, well, besides their claim of an effective radius of 4,618.83 miles, what they're trying to actually do in reality, mathematically, is they're trying to create a horizontal plane with their. So
see that, Brian.
Yeah, exactly, Neil. Their claim of a refracted horizon is an horizon that's refracted up to be horizontal with the water underneath the boat. So that's why
that also works for the back engineering of it. So I think it was you actually, Brian, that brought this to our attention in some 1800s version of dip correction in a navigation book. It was basically giving you the Earth curve maths as the correction to give you a horizontal plane when accurately doing dip correction, looking out at an average horizon. It gave you the averaged maths to correct for it. It just didn't call it Earth curve. It just called it the horizon. Remember, was it you or it might have been 10th?
Adam, I think, or 10th. It wasn't me. Adam or 10th, I'd say.
Either way, what they've done in terms of the back engineering of Earth curve maths is taken what they knew when they were accurately working out how to establish a horizontal plane when doing celestial navigation out at sea. So you've got all these navigation tables that tell you how to make these corrections when shooting the horizon. They've just taken all of that knowledge and turned it into Earth curve. The eloquent maths, or the admirable maths, or whatever I described it as earlier, beautiful, whatever, has come off the back of the people who are actually putting the horizon to practical application. They've just taken that practical application, removed all aspects of perspective in Muppet vision, and turned it into Earth curve. They've done it in various different ways, in various different aspects. Obviously, Earth curve with the ground itself, and the plane being put at the centre when you're talking about celestial navigation. So they've had all these mathematicians working on this, back engineering stuff that people had acquired over presumably hundreds, if not thousands of years, in the most sincere sense of the word. So it's, on the one hand, great, but on the other hand, not so great. You know, we've currently got mathematicians working on how to figure out how to put the public into the mind's eye of parallel universes. So that may be where the mathematicians take us, if the mathematicians keep control of our reality, perceived reality, as the case is currently. When we talk about the perceived reality of a sphere Earth beneath our feet, that's all we're talking about. We're talking about maths. That's all it is. The whole reality that we've based our beliefs on since birth, steadfast though they have been for many of us, have been purely based in the magic of mathematics. That's all it is. And we're right at the heart of it now. We're getting back to the root of where not only the conversions that hijack perspective come into play and are utilised, where the origins of them. It doesn't go back very far. Well, that's the most surprising thing. You haven't got to go back more than a couple of 100 years, or maybe a bit further, see that there was no descriptions of Earth curve when detailing how to acquire horizontals from the horizon. It wasn't even taken into, it wasn't described or detailed. It wasn't there. All the maths was laid out to give mariners better accuracy. That's all it was being used for. People who had an exemplary knowledge of how to utilise horizon as a tool for establishing a plane. It took that knowledge, put it at the centre of a sphere. That's what they did. Took the surface and bent it.
On the older stuff, this is the bit me and Tenth found. You look at the newer navigation and they will stick the dingleberry on. When we look at height of eye correction, dip to the horizon, it was simply described as that, as a functional aspect of that correction. There was no diagram underneath with a dingleberry with a curving line refracting or not refracting. Yeah, it was just stated in the tables, and variances to be based on where you were, the humidity and things like that. It had nothing to do with curvature. The only thing I would say, this started out when 10th first brought this out, and I had challenges with Ruhif. And if you go back, you'll see the Excel sheets I did with the dip constants and comparing it to the horizon and obstruction, etc. So curves are very similar, but they're not the same. And that's really important. So the dip tables do not match curvature. Now, the rate of curve is very similar. The extent of the curve or the starting points is very different. So the values you'd attribute to just Earth curve, which attribute it, does not fit with the dip. Height of eye correction. They're not equivalent. Now, that's important because the ballers will try and portray this as a purely geometric thing. If that was the case, then they would match, wouldn't they?
No, you can't measure the horizon as being We've only got one horizon, and the horizon that they need to use is below surface level. It's a geometric non-visible point. This is the reason why I say, how's that geometric horizon working out for you? We've only got one. They need it to be that geometric tangent point, and it cannot be.
Yep.
Well, the whole point of sorry, come on.
Yep. Shout out to Tony Wickham. The globe has the potential to be reality, except for one little thing. Reality gets in the way. You guys rock, but not Michelle Thaler kind of rock. She's an idiot. Brainwashed to the max. Thanks a lot, Tony. Go ahead, Brian.
Thanks, Tony.
No. Let's labour Tony's point, because that's profound. Flat Earth gets in the way all the time. Every time you do something like dip correction, or as we're describing now, the correction to the horizontal plane, and the blag that it's actually a tangent point below surface level, that whole blag always has the flat Earth requirement, the prerequisite, getting in the way. That's what we're talking about. He's hit the nail right on the head with that super chat.
Yep.
Hang on.
The dip height of Y correction, regardless of what way they have to work it with a distance to an horizon or anything else they want to use with a square root, it still is a depression angle correction. Whether you bring the vertex down or the line up, it's a depression angle correction, and that correction has to match the observer's height of Y above the water underneath the boat. So it has to, and the whole point of it is to create a 90-degree angle. So there's no way.
I was going to preempt that, because that's the most important point. What are you correcting to? What are you trying to achieve? It's the 90.
Yep.
The guy on his back below the star, that's what you're correcting for. That's what you're trying to achieve when you correct.
Yep.
That's what the correction's for. It's wrong because it isn't that. Because you haven't got 90 if you're above the deck. If you're on the surface of the sea, it's the 90-degree positional below the star that your mate's looking up at. Well, his feet pointing out towards you are running along the ground flat. If you're up on the deck of a boat, you're above that flat surface. So you've got to do a correction. And what you're correcting to? That flat Earth Tony was just talking about getting in the way. That's what you're correcting to. Sorry,
Yep.
Brian, I'm stealing your thunder because it's the most important bit and I want it to be stressed. Go ahead.
It's not basically what I was going to say in a lot of it, but the whole point is that horizon point that you have your angle, let's say your horizon mirror on the sextant pointed towards, that point has to be horizontal with the water underneath your boat. So it brings me back to the distance to the horizon on the globe, the geometric globe with the 3959 radius. Like that, they have to claim that as an arc, obviously, an arc distance between the observer and the horizon. So it's the square root of the observer's height in feet multiplied by 1.225. But is that not just a horizontal? Like what that point? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, Adam. But is that and QE? You correct me as well, because I know you both are good at maths. Is that not just? Can that not just be described as a horizontal distance?
No, and
it can't.
Not because of what you're. Yes, for what you're saying, but we're using the incorrect. See, we're thinking orthographically, as you describe. Yeah, that horizon is the deck. It's the deck, and as I've said earlier, we don't, and we criticise the ballers for not taking into account perspective. Remember, when we're using the horizon, what we're using it for. And in that image, if we was to draw that image orthographically, what we're seeing, whatever height we are above the deck doesn't go flat in the image that we're going to analyse and take information from. It goes from the base of the deck at our feet up to the centre of our viewpoint. And the rate at which that centre point where the deck meets our centre point will slightly change based on our height because of the change in the limitation of the deck. The top bit's open to infinity, isn't it? It's open to the sky. Okay, so there's no limitation there. The bottom, the way in which it will render optically where that horizon point is, and this is it. What that horizon is perspective. It isn't a point. Where it renders is crucial to the height of eye, and that's what the early calculations show. To try and describe it orthographically, which is what the ballers do, whether that's even with just a flat plane or a ball or a curved base, yeah, it doesn't really matter because you're using flat horizontal base or a curved base. In the image that you're analyzing, the deck goes from however high you are to the center point of your vision, and that's the maths that you use to calculate a level.
But I think it's not your fault because I went through several things, but there was something that was kind of missed at the end of what I said. I'm going to use an example here, right? This is globe Earth example. If I have a standing on a globe Earth, right, with a radius of 3959 miles, and I have a 10-foot observer height, then the square root of that 10-foot observer height multiplied by 1.225 gives me a 3.87 and change distance to a geometric horizon. But that distance, that calculation there, like instantly people make that an arc length. But that can be a straight, that can be a horizontal distance, and the only change, there's no change in my height in the height of the person's eye above the ground underneath or the water underneath. There's no change in the length or the distance between the observer and that 3.87 miles away. The only difference is the change in the length of the hypotenuse. So what happens is that when they make it an arc length, it just changes the length of the hypotenuse and the length of the baseline, and that just becomes a chord, and the distance becomes an arc. But the point I'm making is their height of the square root of the height of the observer in feet multiplied by 1.225 is a horizontal distance as much as it's an arc distance. The only difference is a change in the length of the hypotenuse, and your horizontal becoming an arc, and the baseline of the triangle then becoming a chord line. If you understand what I mean.
That distance stated is actually an arc length because it's within their paradigm. But
it works horizontally as well, is my point.
You'd have to adjust it to switch paradigms or to take it as a straight line distance.
See, I'm kind of trying to back engineer their maths because
it's a moot point, right? It's kind of inconsequential, but from the modus tollens, that comes from ball mathematics. So the distance that's being described is what's translated across the surface of a ball. It'd be negligible. Only in the black swan. You know what I mean?
Well, let's just say I started off with. Make
it less, wouldn't it? Sorry, just
no. Let's just say I started off with their dip to their refracted horizon. Now for that it won't be 1.225 the multiplication. It will be 1.322 for their 7/6R. But if I start off with that, because that matches the dip correction in celestial navigation, then I can start off with that as an actual depression angle, and I can then I can then put in the radius of 3959, and that will give me an arc length distance that will match at 1.225. I don't want to do the audience's head in with this because there's a lot of numbers thrown out there. My point is that everything they do is back engineered from a horizontal plane, and that's my point with their dip to their refracted horizon. Is that I think their maths start off there, I could be wrong, and end up as a geometric horizon. But even though geometric horizon 1.225 of the square root of the observer's height in feet, even that can be displayed as a horizontal distance. is my point. All it's going to do is change the length of the hypotenuse, and that's not going to change anything. It's just a hypotenuse. The length, the distance between the observer and the point is going to be the same. It'll just be horizontal as opposed to arced. And the height above the deck will be above the water or whatever. The height of the observer's eye will be the same. My point is that they add in these R values afterwards, but everything starts as depression angles and elevation angles. That's my point with their maths. And I think they start off their maths with a dip to a refracted horizon, which is a depression angle. They add in a 3959 radius, which changes that, and then they go back again and add in a 4618 radius, which gives them an arc in both circumstances, except for they started off with a horizontal plane.
Well, they actually started off with a non sequitur fallacy, because there doesn't the refracted horizon doesn't exist.
I know, but I reckon that they got the maths for the refracted horizon from the celestial navigation dip correction. I reckon that's where they robbed that from. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Certainly seems to be the case when you see it laid out in black and white in that book that I'm pretty sure it is 10th Man that showed it us originally. I remember seeing it and thinking, well, there it is. It's just not called Earth curve.
Yep. That's a ball. It's a ball wrecker, right? Celestial navigation is a ball wrecker. It's just as simple as that. But now we have another ball wrecker. Of course, you know there's going to be a lot of ball wreckers, because when somebody deceives you, when there's a deceit out there, there is, depending on the complexity of the subject, there's many peccadillos that are going to rise up. And we're going to talk about a subtle ball wrecker here that Brian caught on to. I think it's just beautiful. And I don't know, do we want to get into that now, folks?
I'm okay for it if you want to do it.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, well, if Brian just gets ready then, just to add to what we were just saying there, Black Swan finishes this, okay? Because if we were standing at the beach using the horizon, but to attain a level, yeah, and we pretended that it was geometric, and we zoomed in, we could see that it's further and further away. We're not using that point. Black Swan further demonstrates to me what the horizon is. And I think in all of this celestial navigation, the ballers will try to mug you off that the horizon is a geometric limitation caused by the sphericity of the Earth. That's what it is. And a lot of their arguments will take you down that road. Don't go down it. Stick at the point. You don't need to go into celestial navigation. Stick with the Black Swan until they concede that point.
Yeah, because all the Black Swan is within their claims is just the adding of over 6R. But this comes back to what I was saying though, Adam. That is a horizontal. All they're adding of over 6R, and even their multiplication of by 1.225, that's actually a horizontal distance that they arc afterwards. So if it was like, I think it was 148 over R or something for the Black Swan, but that's a horizontal distance they're giving when they're with their 148 over R. It's you could show it orthographically as a big massive circle, but it's still, the distance is a horizontal between the observer and the horizon with what they have to claim. My point is that it's a bit like the bad moon shadow thing, where it doesn't matter if they're claiming that parallel light we get parallel light from the sun, and that proves that all the light comes in parallel from the sun and the stars. That all goes out the window, because they get the exact same shadows from the moon, and mathematically it works out exactly the same, even though their moon has divergent light hitting their globe. So it makes no difference. It's like it takes their claim away. Mathematically is my point. I'm going to have to make a video about it. I'm not going to go into it now too much because I'll make the point in a video easier.
Well, you're supposed to be preparing for a succinct presentation, aren't you?
I'm ready to go.
I've been waiting for days for this.
Yeah, like I said, this is a subtle ball wrecker, but it's got teeth. So, Brian, what we'll do is I'm going to post the first slide, and then when you want to go next, just say next, and I'll take control of the slides. How about that? And then you're good. Just roll on. All right?
Yeah, you just let me know when the next one has come up, and I'll continue on from there.
Yep. Yeah, you're up.
Okay.
This is the first slide presentation. There you go, Brian. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, QE. Okay, this is called weight in a vacuum. Okay, so I go from slide to slide. I'll keep it as succinct as possible. So, what is W equals mg? W equals mg is an equation that states that an object's mass is given weight, a linear downward vector force, via a force of gravity causing a gravitational attraction between a smaller mass and a bigger mass. Mass is undefined. I just felt I needed to put that in there. What that's talking about is just the basics of the claim within heliocentrism of where weight comes from, or how weight is defined within their paradigm. Next, please, QE.
It's up. Oh, wait a second.
Thank you.
Not up. It's not up. Now it's up.
Thank you. Okay, slide 2. The smaller masses of 1 and 2 are attracted to the bigger mass of 3. So we have mass 1, mass 2, and mass 3. This is what's known as gravitational attraction. So the point here is that within the force of gravity paradigm, that all smaller masses will be attracted to the bigger mass. So the biggest mass will attract the smaller masses. And the amount of attraction depends on the size of the mass. So within their paradigm, a globe Earth would be a much huger mass than anything else. So everything is attracted towards the center of that globe Earth. Okay. Next slide, please, QE.
It's up.
Thank you. Okay, so if mass 1 is the air, if we have mass 1 there, and mass 2 is an object, we have the object there, mass 2, and mass 3 is the Earth, then both the air and the object are being attracted to mass 3, giving both of them weight. So what I'm saying here, or this is the claim, that the air within the heliocentric model has weight. It's a mass. They describe it as a mass, and that mass of air is given weight via a force of gravity. And that force of gravity is pulling it towards the center of a globe Earth. And the object that's in between the air and the globe Earth, or the Earth underneath it, also is being given weight by the fact that it is being pulled to the center of the Earth, of their globe Earth, right? So the air above the object has a linear downward vector force, right, which is weight, and the object has the same linear downward vector force as the air. So both of them have a downward vector, both of them, which gives them weight, which is how weight is defined as a downward vector. Next, please, QE.
Up.
Thank you. This means that the object's weight is being increased due to the air above it, which is being pulled down onto it. So this is the whole point. The air that's being pulled down onto the object is giving the object extra weight, because the mass of the air above it is adding to the mass of the object below it, and they're both being pulled towards the center of a globe Earth, which is mass 3. So there's no way for that air as a mass that has a linear downward vector to not give extra weight to the object that it is pushing down upon. And so the object is in between, the object itself is being pulled towards the center of a globe, and the air above it is being pulled down on top of that object. So this means that the object's weight has to be increased by that. Next, please, QE.
Up.
Thank you. But if we remove mass 1, the air, then mass 2, the object, must weigh less under those conditions. So it's a very simple concept. Once you take away, if you picture the air as a weight, like a steel weight that's on top of the object, right, on a scales, once you take that weight off of that object, whether it be the object be anything you want, another weight, doesn't matter, a chair or whatever, once you take that weight off of the object obviously will weigh less. There's no way around that. So that's the whole point. Once you remove the air, the object that the air was being pulled and pushed down upon has to weigh less. Next, please, Kiwi.
Up.
Thank you. Which means that objects weighed in a vacuum must weigh less if the Earth is a globe and has its atmosphere held to it via force of gravity. So this means that under these conditions, under the paradigm of the globe Earth narrative, where there is a force of gravity, and this force of gravity creates gas pressure at surface level and keeps all of their air, their atmosphere, connected to the surface of a globe Earth, right? The reason for this is due to the force of gravity giving weight to their air. That's their claim. That's what they say. And so once you remove that, then the object would have to weigh less. There's no way around that. Next, please.
Up.
Thank you. But in reality, objects weigh more in a vacuum, debunking all claims that the Earth is a globe with an atmosphere at pressure, as the claimed reason for the air pressure doesn't exist in reality. So the point of this is, in reality, if we lived on a globe Earth and we had a force of gravity giving weight to a mass of air, then there's no way, once you take that air away, for that object to weigh less. For that object to weigh more, it has to weigh less in a vacuum. But in reality, the objects all weigh more in a vacuum, debunking the claim that a force of gravity exists and that a heliocentric model and a globe Earth can exist, because there is no explanation for them to. There's no way for them to explain how they have air at pressure next to a vacuum. Next, please, Kiwi.
Up.
Further explanation. If the Earth is a globe with an atmosphere being held to it via a force of gravity, then the air in that atmosphere will have weight, which is a linear downward force. And a consequence of this would mean that objects must weigh less in a vacuum, as the added downward force of the air has been removed. But objects weigh more in a vacuum, making the globe and heliocentric models impossible, as there is no process to counteract entropy. And that's the whole point. This is their claim that counteracts entropy. They claim that how the globe deals with the entropy of gases into a vacuum is that they have that the air is given weight via force of gravity, and all the air their air in their atmosphere is being pulled to the center of their globe, and consequently it has a linear downward vector, and that stops it or counteracts what is entropy, which would be that all the gases filling the available lower pressure volume. Next, please, Kiwi.
Up.
Thank you. Consequences of this revelation. One, a force of gravity does not and cannot exist. Yeah, a force of gravity can't exist because objects would have to weigh less in the vacuum under those conditions. There is no way around it. It can't exist if it's not giving weight to all things. If it's not giving all things a linear downward vector, it can't exist. Two, mass does not exist and cannot exist. What I mean by this is mass within their paradigm, as opposed to being mass being a mole in chemistry or whatever. Within their paradigm, mass is given weight. Remember, W equals mg. Weight equals mass times force of gravity. So within their paradigm, mass cannot exist and be given weight as they state that it is, because they're basically taking what is just a calculation in chemistry and trying to turn it into something physical that is given weight via this force. But it can't. Within their paradigm, that can't happen. Within their paradigm, it can, but within reality, it can't. Because if that was the case, then objects would weigh less in the vacuum, but they don't. 3, the globe model is without explanation for how gas pressure is achieved and maintained. And this is a problem because now the fact that objects weigh more in a vacuum means that there is no explanation within their globe paradigm for how gas pressure is achieved and maintained and how it sits next to a vacuum. They have nothing. The fact that objects weigh more in a vacuum takes that away. 4, the globe model and heliocentrism in general cannot exist as objects weigh more in a vacuum, which they do. Basically, the globe model and heliocentrism is all based on, it all starts with us existing and being able to live on a globe model. And a force of gravity is how they originally claimed this was possible. Now I know they've moved on and done away with that claim, but they haven't done away with that claim when it comes to the air and their air having weight and weight in general. They haven't done away with that claim. They keep on trying to hold on to it. But the fact that objects weigh more in a vacuum destroys the claim that the air could have weight, because if that was the case, objects would weigh less in a vacuum, and they don't. They weigh more. So that means there can be no air at pressure created within the globe model. There is no way for explanation for that to happen. It takes away all, like, we couldn't exist because that doesn't happen. We couldn't exist. We would all be non-existent. Nothing had happened. None of it would ever exist because there is no force of gravity. And that's the whole point of this small presentation. And last one, please, Kiwi.
1 second. Do you hear that sound, Mr. Baltard? That is the sound of inevitability. Like I said, it's got teeth. You're through again. Next slide's up, Brian.
Thank you. Yes, and I concur with that for definite. The concept of buoyancy. This is the only rebuttal. When I put this out as a short video about a year ago or something, that's the only rebuttal that I got, and it was completely in opposition to what they needed to claim, because buoyancy is an up, not a down, and right, which was completely the opposite of what they needed. Right, they needed down, but they were trying to claim it up. But buoyancy is Archimedes' principle. It is hundreds and hundreds of years known and detailed, hundreds and hundreds of years prior to any ideas that Johannes Kepler came up with, or Newton, or anyone after him. So I'm just going to read this out. The concept of buoyancy. Within the globe model, the concept of buoyancy is described as being due to the air being pulled down towards the surface of a globe Earth, resulting in the upwards movement of helium balloons, etc. So within that model, the air must have a linear downward vector, force, weight, for a helium balloon to rise up. But this is very obviously debunked by the fact that objects weigh more in a vacuum. As if the air had weight, then it would have a downward bias vector towards the surface of the Earth, but it doesn't. The end. Thank you.
Ha! You're done for. Again. Questions, comments?
You can't hear sound in a vacuum.
The speed of sound in a wait a second. The speed of sound in a vacuum, according to Steve McCrae, Steve McClown of the Clan McClowns, is constant. Yeah. Constantly zero.
I was just gonna say, constantly what? Well done, Brian. Ace.
Yep. He wore a sharp suit and aced him. Beautiful. Love it.
Thanks, Huey. Thanks for having me on as well to do it.
Yeah.
Because there's no way out of that for them. It's such a simple thing. There's no way out.
That's what happens when you get caught lying. Shout out to Tony Wickham again. Thanks, Tony. Isn't refraction medium specific? That's a whole other presentation, Tony. And Tony Wickham again. Why is it only Tony Wickham? Gravity weighs 0.0 on scales. Yes. Yeah, it's less than zero. Thanks, Tony.
I can safely say Tony Wickham is ace as well.
Thank you, Neil.
The only reason I wanted to put in the buoyancy bit at the end is because that's what for any flat earthers who watch this, because I'm sure there'll be a lot of people watch this BALLBUSTERS after it's over. A lot of flat earthers, I think they have a lack of confidence a lot of the time.
Yep.
Because I think Huey, you'll agree with that.
Yes.
They go into places like in Discord and that, and they get hoodwinked by the ballers so easy. Because what the ballers did with me was they said, "Oh, buoyancy," right? Completely forgetting the whole reason for a helium balloon going up. Because buoyancy is an up, so you need it down no point in saying buoyancy. So that's why I put that bit in at the end, because claiming buoyancy debunks the claim of a downward vector for gravity. It debunks them having gas pressure and all the things they need, because that is not a down, it's an up. And it's like, and I just didn't listen to it. Every one of them that said it to me, I laughed it off. And I just pointed out that they've literally helped me debunk their own model by saying buoyancy. But that's what they're going to try and do. They're going to keep on trying to say that any of the flat earthers will bring this up. Oh, buoyancy. Completely forgetting that the reason that they claim that helium balloon goes up is because the air is being pulled down.
Yep.
So you can't be pulled down and also be going up. You can't be going down and up at the same time. So that's why I said it. But they don't have confidence because they leave the ballers hoodwink them.
That's why it weighs more, right? Because there's no buoyancy when we're in a vacuum.
Exactly, Adam. Yeah.
I wouldn't be afraid of that topic. It's to take it back to Sleeping Warriors experiment. Now, I know that's salt water now. Still think of the air as adding a layer of buoyancy. Now, when we was researching this, it's one of the technical papers I looked at was an industry thing, and they remind you to be very careful, even if you've got metal, big chunks of metal that you want to weigh accurately, because titanium and I don't know, vibranium, whatever, Wakanda forever, are slightly different densities, and 1 kilogram of each will have a slightly different effect on normal scales in terms of its buoyancy. One will occupy slightly larger and one smaller volume to get that 1 kilogram. When you're weighing in a vacuum, you have to take that into account. It was saying in these industrial papers. That demonstrates just the natural effect of buoyancy of the medium, not ups and downs, just how the air, just like fluids, has an effect in terms of it, but lot smaller is the point they're making. But still, when you're measuring on really tiny scales, then you do have to take it into account. But again, that demonstrated your point, Bri, and that's what they're warning. Things will weigh more.
Exactly, Adam. I actually got told it's only a little bit more, as if that changes it. I said, no, you need it to be less. I've got told by ballers, I don't know how many times. Okay, it weighs a bit more in a vacuum, but only a little bit more. You're missing the point. Yeah, you're missing the point. It's like the fact is it weighs more, not less. It has to weigh less under if we go by the rules of your paradigm, it has to weigh less. Like if you think of it like that, go on, Sai.
I've been saying this for the whole time. So when Brian says the rules of your paradigm, what he means is if we accept the notion that gas go down, go boom, boom, like solid bonded bouncy balls, put pressure onto the item in the chamber that's going to be vacated, then we would accept that it would obviously weigh less.
Yeah, it has to, because you're giving it a weight. Weight is only in one direction. That's how it's defined, and that's down. There's no way for it to not weigh less without the added weight, because they're claiming the air, their atmosphere, is a weight, literally a weight. Has a linear downward effect.
Their paradox has a weight.
So the only way out, isn't it, is to claim that gas doesn't behave like that. Therefore, W equals mg doesn't apply. But then there'd be no reason for it to stick to a ball. It's beautiful, Brian.
Yeah, it also violates second law of thermodynamics, by the way. And Boyle's law, Charles' law, Gay-Lussac's law, Brownian motion, Dalton's law. This is a train wreck of a dumpster fire. Heliotards. Go ahead, Nathan.
Well, isn't Chocolate right when he says that they got a list that they read from? Buoyancy. And they just rattle off their list that they read from. But if you keep up with the flat earth debate, you will know. Once you say buoyancy, you debunk yourself.
This is what's good. Differentiates the term buoyancy as having this downward vector they employ by W equals mg. Brian's demonstrating that there is no gas go down, go boom boom in this. Because if there was, the effects would be reversed. That's what's beautiful.
Yep.
Kind of in a nice paradoxical loop for them. You maybe have a Brywinian paradox, mate.
Brywinian.
Good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, but the headliner is killer, but the underlying implications or the underlying criterion that makes it all up, each one falls by the wayside. You can destroy all the premises. Nice one, Brian. Very nice. Very well done.
Thank you, Kiwi. Thanks a lot. Thanks for letting me to do it on the show.
Yeah.
But what I like best about it is that their explanation that counteracts entropy is taken away.
Yes.
So they can't just bring that out in the debate and you go around in a circle for 20 minutes going through gravity with them, as the only gravity they can claim when it comes to counteracting entropy is the force of gravity, and they want to waste your time going into that subject. Whereas this takes all that away. There's no point in talking about general relativity because that has nothing to do with it.
Yep.
You know, so.
Yep, you can set them up too, right? Does your atmosphere, we'll give them the paradox, don't go into that. Does your atmosphere have mass? Yes. Does gravity pull the atmosphere towards the Earth, violating second law of thermodynamics, towards the center of the Earth? They have to say yes. Does the atmosphere...
Yes, go down, go boom boom.
Does the atmosphere have weight? They're going to have to say yes. And then you bust them with the object in the vacuum weighing more. Oh, man, I love setting that up. I'm going to do it. I'm doing it this evening, just for shits and giggles.
If I can speak, I'm a little bit of kind of a fence sitter. I'm more on your guys' side than the whole...
Oh, who are you? Hold on a second. Who are you?
I'm co-host Krog. Well, not co-host here, obviously, but that's, people call me I'm co-host Krog.
Okay. Welcome.
Yeah, no, I'm a bit of a fence sitter. Like, I mean, I've actually been up in the... What's it called? When they take you up to the upper atmosphere.
The ISS?
You get the experience of no gravity and shit like that. I've been up there and done it. And I've seen the kind of curvature, but I'm not sold on it. I'm not sold on it at all.
Wait a second. You've been up to the upper atmosphere? You were in the thermosphere?
I don't know what it's called. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what it's called. They take you up to like the upper atmosphere so you can experience no gravity.
No gravity.
Vomit.
You're talking about the vomit comment. You're talking about where they fly you up high and then they turn off the engines and the plane falls.
Yes.
Well, if you look, that is a logical fallacy, because their plane that.
Stop! Everyone, stop! He made a point. He's telling us he happens to have been on it, and then he's like, "I saw the curve, but I don't quite buy it." Let's just hear the rest of his.
No. I was going to get to the point of like I don't. It's not that I don't buy your point. I don't buy the circular Earth point. I'm convinced there's gravity, but when I was up there looking out across like all the world, it didn't look that round, bro. I'm not going to lie. There was that. I'm not intelligent at all. I'm going to say I'm a bit slow in the head, to be honest. But when I looked out the window when I was up there, man, it didn't look that round. I saw a little bit of curvature.
You see any clouds?
I did see clouds. Yeah.
And were they falling down, go boom boom, at 9.8 meters per second squared?
See, you're going a bit fast for me, man. I'm quite new to this.
They're going down. You said you believe in gravity. Were the clouds, were they falling down?
No, they weren't. I was floating, man. I don't know how they did that. If they're
falling.
Well, you said you were convinced of gravity. That has some deep ramifications. Do you want to let me get into this or not?
I'm new to this, man. Educate me. I'm absolutely new to this. Educate me.
Okay, let's start off. You said you're convinced of gravity. No problem with that. Which one are you talking about?
Well, no, it was I've heard flat earthers, and like, I'm telling you, I'm a bit slow. I'm not good with all this. But
I'm just asking you. I'm just asking you which one. We'll go step by step, and I'm not gonna dog you out or anything. I just want to get some clarity on how you're convinced of gravity.
Don't go hard. Don't go hard at me.
I won't.
I don't know if I'm using
I will
the
not.
term.
I promise you, I will not.
My beliefs are on your guys' side. Absolutely. That's why I'm here. It was looking out the window of that plane up there, man. Something did not feel right. And I've been told the world's been around my whole life, and I've been looking out the window when I was up there, and I just wasn't sure, man. It didn't look right.
Okay.
Now, I don't know the whole deep lore and stuff on all this flat Earth thing, but looking out the window up there, man, I don't know. That changed me. It changed me. I'm gonna admit, I thought you guys were a bit crazy till I did that. But I was experiencing. I don't know what to call it. You're going on about the gravity, and you're getting heated about the gravity, but I don't know what to call it. I was floating as whatever happened.
You weren't floating. That's the thing. That's the thing about it, Joe.
I've just got one more question. So, when you were up on the vomit comet, you were saying you were looking out and seeing the ground out the window, right?
Yeah, I saw the ground out the window when I was up there.
This guy's a liar. Just kick him out. Right, the whole point of the vomit comet is that they close you off from the outside references. That's to say that they close off the window so you don't notice the fact that you're falling. So if you're claiming that you looked out the window in the vomit comet, you'd know that you were falling through the window. I'm talking, co-host. I am the co-host. Up. I know you're lying. I've just caught you out in a lie.
My uncle flies those planes.
Shut up. Liar.
Okay. Yeah.
Didn't look out the window of a vomit comet because they close off the windows so you can't tell what frame of reference you're in.
Uncle flies the planes.
You're a liar. I've already called you out and caught you out in a lie. Dumbo. Shut up, Dumbo. Dumbo.
I just come here and get some information.
Shut up. Someone shut him up. The Dumbo can't shut up. He's been caught out in a lie, so now he's going to waffle through me. Lie.
Go ahead,
Stop
Nathan.
Talking. That's what they do. You see, assholes. And they get caught out in a lie. Feel the need to incessantly talk over the top of you pointing out their lie. What, you're going to cut the line on me, asshole? Because I've caught you out in your lie? Oh, it's very easy. You're dumb. Said, oh, I'm just a... Yeah, you are a dumbo. You got caught out in a lie, dumbo. Talk through me when I point out you're a scumbag, globe-believing dumbo liar. You haven't been on a vomit comet. You're just a scumbag liar. Pretend to be something you're not. Someone with money that can go on that particular flight. Doesn't have any windows to look out of, you bloody liar. Shut your mouth and get lost. It's like all the people who believe in a globe here. You're just representative of the scum that we deal with. The kind of scum that comes up and just makes up a little story about going on the vomit comet. I haven't got any specifics, but you know the windows are open. Bloody liar. You represent the scum globe believers. That's who you are. A liar. Get lost.
Wow. I wasn't aware of that. The window thing.
You have to deny the frame of reference.
See through the window.
Scream to your death.
Hold on a second, Adam. Hold on. You guys are talking over top. Go ahead, Nathan, then Adam.
Just saying, if you knew you were falling, the whole illusion would be lost. Because you could see what frame of reference was doing what.
Not really zero G's, is it? It's not really floating in space. It's called controlled falling. Yeah? You're just falling. That's all that's happening. You could do it just as well jumping off a building and get the same effect for a short amount of time. All that's happening, but the illusion is that everything's static with you. The walls of the aeroplane are static, aren't they? They're falling as well.
Shout out to Vlad. 1 second, Brian. Shout out to Vlad on Flat Earth. Appreciate it. Shout out. Oh, he's shouting out. We got double shout outs. Shout out to Brian's Logic. Love your logic, bro. Greetings to all. Thanks, QE. Appreciate it, Vlad. Thank you. Go ahead, Brian.
Thanks for that. Thanks very much, bud. Yeah, it's a contained fall, and it's actually a logical fallacy because they say it's 0G. But why are you falling then? If it's 0G, the whole point is that it's supposed to be G is the reason that you're falling. G has been pulling you. It's pulling you towards the center of a globe Earth. That's their claim. So why are you falling if it's 0G? If it's 0G, you shouldn't be falling at all. You should just be levitating, not falling. it's complete nonsense. But they hoodwink people with the language. With 0G, as Nathan says, they always give you 1G, and then bring you up there and say now you're at 0G, but you're not, because when you're at 1G jumping off your shade into the garden, it's the same thing as being up there falling out of the air, except for you're not feeling the air because you're enclosed in an airplane. And as Nathan pointed out, because Nathan is very sharp and remembered, they block off the windows, so you can't see. So you think you're floating, but you're not. If you're floating, you wouldn't be going down.
Brian, he came in to try and push gravity, because that's what he said. I believe in gravity, and then he tried to push his story. But like you said, Nathan is sharp.
Well, he completely ignored the whole presentation and the point of the presentation.
Yep, that's what I was.
Sir.
That's what I was thinking. But Nathan brought the hammer down. Damn, man.
It's not like I need to go on the 0G plane to have had a cursory glance at it. And the principle of it itself is what debunked him the moment he said, I've been on it and looked out the window. All right, bloody liar. What bugs me is if you're a ball believer, full show, right? There's obviously going to be people in the audience that are, I'd say this in the face of Matthew recently, but, you know, honest to goodness globe believing normies, right? When they see someone come on that's the only representation that the globe has had, like, on the fence my ass, that's a lie too. He's pushing gravity, ignoring the questions he's asked about which one, moving back to the horizon and how it's sort of making him feel strange, but gravity's still real. But moving on from gravity still being real, we're going to talk about the horizon being vague and maybe asserted that it's in line with your flat earth belief. But I've dropped in that gravity's still real and I believe in it anyway, after an absolutely devastating presentation. That's what is Schillery for the globe. No one's paying him, right? Just him trying to either affirm his little bias by saying, oh, gravity's still real though. Talk about the horizon for a bit. Pathetic. What does he do to do that little ruse? Lie. That's it. It's your globe representation. Looking absolutely crappy again, globe believers. Why? That's all you can do as a globe believer. And lie. Well, I can't overcome Brian's argument about how gravity works in a vacuum. In a defiance of your gas go down, go boom, boom with gravity nonsense. Right? So what's the best he can do? Hand wave it, move on, and lie about being in the 0G plane. Give everyone the idea that someone who's got the authority because he's been in the 0G plane. No, he hasn't. Yeah. What, for a few moments, a few people around him will cheer and write a comment. Oh, the guy in the 0G plane immediately didn't bump Brian. No, your typical globe believer came here and lied. That's what you got. Sad.
How I view it is that what it was, he was talking about how it looked flat from up there, but there was still gravity. So it's like as if I give you 50% if you give me 50%. That's what it sounded like to me. You know, kind of like, let's have a draw here. It's like, no, we won't.
You want to disagree to disagree?
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Nice. Very well done. I like the way that went.
I got to ask you a question about the weightlessness. So is it the same like when I was a kid, used to go on job sites with my father, and, you know, the skyscraper elevators, I would get on them, and when we almost reached the top, like before it stopped, I would just jump straight in the air, and then I would feel like I'm floating. Is that what it is? Or am I wrong on this?
When you were going up in the elevator?
Yes. And right
That
before
makes
it
no sense.
stopped, I would jump. In the elevator,
Okay.
I would jump. And it would feel like I was floating.
No, that is in no way comparison because you conceptualize that in reverse. The plane's on this parabolic maneuver. It's on the upward arc. You just pushed against the floor as it goes up. It's only when you then go over the top of the parabolic flight and then start to essentially go into what is, as far as your body is concerned, free fall. You and everything in the plane are all moving down towards the ground at the same rate. Therefore, so long as you can't see outside, everything floats. Yeah? You are in a seemingly weightless position because you and your reference frame are all as one hurtling towards the ground at the same rate.
What Neil's talking about with the elevator, I used to do that too. Only with the elevators that went fast enough, and it's really just using
Fun.
that fast momentum. Right?
Yeah, at the top, if you do that, and if you're jumping literally before the elevator stops, then you'll continue with the momentum of the elevator. If it then stops, you might get this perfectly well-timed extra bit of lift just for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gives you this floaty feel for just half a second.
Yes, I used to have it timed. It was fun. I used to go all the way to the Empire State Building.
Yeah, me
That's
too.
called
I
your
used to do that
prostate,
too.
Neil.
Anyway. I didn't hear you, Adam. I didn't hear you.
We all did.
But that...
That's all right. Adam's okay.
Go
I
on,
forgive
press
him.
the point. Prostate, you say?
I said that's your prostate. A little bit of fizz when you get that lift.
Oh boy! So what that guy came in with was what that vomit comment is a very expensive parlor trick. You're telling me?
He's begging Neil, right, in chat, pleading innocence. What certain things like what Nathan called out, and he's claiming he's in the cockpit with his uncle, but I nearly stepped in. I stepped in with Brian when he didn't know what it was called, a vomit comet, and if he didn't know it was called a vomit comet, at least say it's parabolic flight that my uncle takes. You know, there's a level of credence to your story if you're going to present it that you missed the opportunity to give yourself validation. And I'm sorry if we're incorrect, but we're having a lot. Actually, this is the return of the ballers, isn't it? Is this what they're going to do now? This guy, and then was it Thursday? And then the guy before Matthew. We seem to have these semi-innocent newbies that ask loaded questions.
Well, if you listen to it,
Neil,
sorry.
was it compressing plasma?
Yes.
Into metal.
Yep, that was it. That was yesterday.
You know, Kiwi, you were so lucky you weren't there. Were you there? No, there's no way. You'd have popped.
What happened?
We had a guy that came in, listening to learn and wanted to share a bit of knowledge with us, and he seemed to be conflating the plasma that you can make, as in the state of matter, with blood plasma.
Oh, brother.
And he'd been thrown out of CERN suggesting this, but it was based on the knowledge that him and his mates, when they were at college or uni, had taken plasma and pressed it into metal using a hydraulic press and a powerful magnet. They pressed plasma into a metal and then analysed the magnetic field of the metal that had wet plasma put on it and a magnetic field applied to it, and came up with the conclusion that plasma was magnetic and affected the metal.
No, you missed it, Adam. The most important thing, him and his buddies did experiments.
Oh yeah, they did use that word.
Do you know what these are? These are faceless kamikaze nutters, right? Because they've got nothing left. What they can do is they can send some faceless, nameless dick in to speculate about something that's a bit conspiratorial, bit way off base, but with a fundamental flaw in the premise, and hope someone latches onto that nonsense. And then you can tar them, because they're a face as opposed to a faceless, nameless potato, can have that crap tarred to them permanently. They haven't speculated it, they haven't postulated it, they haven't claimed it. They chat along with someone else who's like faceless, nameless idiot. And the next thing you know, you're that plasma idiot. It's Plasma Neil. Hello, it's something like that. They're kamikaze idiots.
No, I got it. They're kamikaze nutters. That was perfect.
I think there's a lot of our opposition that are coming to this subject through people like Johnny Harris and Dave McKeegan, who don't even know their own model. I think there's a lot of them coming to this arena via them. Then they're going into Discord, and when it comes to shows like this is outside of their ability to deal with. So they come in with nonsense lies or trying to waste our time because they have to believe that we're stupid. Because if we're not stupid, then we might be right. So they have to believe we're stupid or we're crazy, one or the other. And so they have to you have to look down their nose at us. Go on, Nathan.
The problem is from our opponent's perspective, though, and we've watched enough of these videos now. In order to make us look stupid, they have to take very select cuts of the meat, present them with a nice garnish and a nice side salad and a lot of waffle. And then the person who gobbles that down has the impression that we're thick. Now, an example which was brilliant of this, maybe it's probably even longer than that, maybe 4 years ago, when Simon Dan was first on the scene, immediately 100,000 subscribers or something ludicrous, told his audience to go and confront allegedly Dave on the street. And 2 numpties took him up on it and went and confronted allegedly Dave. He proceeded to tear 2 strips off them on camera in the name of Simon Dan. It backfired so spectacularly. I mean, it beggars belief that they'd go, oh, this numpty Simon Dan says I should go and challenge these idiots on the street. Yeah, how well did that go? Not very.
Yeah, it's a bit rich, isn't it, to actually even tell people to personally and physically approach one of us. You know, I mean, we argue here online, and we're willing to take it face to face. You know, in a debate situation, whatever. No bother. Like as I said, I'm totally fine with going up onto the stage in some university against whoever they got. No bother. But this thing of approach them on the street in reality when you're out doing whatever you're doing, that's a bit rich. You're pushing your luck now, because now it's different. Do you know what I mean? Now I have to view you as a threat. You know, because now you can't do. See, I think what it is people would find out you can't behave in reality face to face with someone like you want to behave, which is how you would behave online. You can't do that. You have to actually address the person.
You can, but in reality, you're going to come across as somebody that needs arresting and locking up, which was borderline. Adam, you experienced this in the flesh with Jem Panda, right? With him waving his stick at you. Yeah, you're not far off getting nicked with your passion and your enthusiasm for your hatred and disdain of somebody that should just be ignored if they're not right. You can't, can you? So you'll get very angry on the street and shout and point your finger, and yeah, eventually people like that, they're the ones that get arrested. Not the flat earthers. They're more than happy to let us on the streets with our placards and our banners and talk about flat earth all day long. It's been going on 4 years, ever since I've come to this subject. Meanwhile, the people who get angry around slapping people's heads, knocking their hats off, getting angry, pointing their bony fingers and shaking their sticks, they are the ones who will get arrested, I assure you.
Wait a second. I didn't see that Shamalama Panda Ding Dong Window Liquor shaking any sticks. When did that happen?
Yeah, Market Square last year during the heat.
I watched that. I didn't see. He didn't have no stick. Did he?
Doesn't he? I'm sure Jeremy does. He doesn't walk very well.
Where'd you see that at, Nathan? Make sure you send that to me. I missed that part.
He has to have a stick. He's crippled, isn't he? I thought it was a cane.
Right, the focus of it shouldn't really be the stick. I mean, way to major on the minors.
Were you speaking metaphorically?
If I make the stick metaphorical, will you then absorb the actual point?
Yes.
Okay, so metaphorically shaking a stick at people, that'll get you arrested.
The stick, he was shaking, Nathan, if you remember it. With rage, absolute outrage. Wouldn't argue the points, wouldn't discuss any of them, because obviously the people have already been brainwashed and things like that. Just shaking with rage.
These people have got a lot of pent-up anger and disdain and vitriol. And, you know, I imagine it keeps them up at night. And as much as I always reference this, conspiracy cats talking in the third person about how terrible it would be to have to contemplate all the lies and deceit in the world if the world actually was flat. Yeah? Now, that is the contemplations and, moreover, fears of your average anti-flat earther. Now, pity is what they actually deserve. You know, not fear, not I don't know, not anything other than pity, because that's what they deserve.
Not ridicule?
I feel sorry for them. Again,
Not ridicule?
no, I don't give them much thought. So after the shows used to end, right, and all the ballers would pile in, and after the fact, early stages of the debate, I'd dwell on the various arguments that we had, because I was naive and inexperienced and ignorant of the actual subject that was being debated. Now, obviously, you learn quick if you're in the deep end debating it with people, but ultimately, back then, I used to give it consideration. You call it second guessing my own faith in flat Earth, if you will.
Sure.
Now, move on, and as time goes on, you realise more and more. As I can't remember, I think it was Tony Whittaker in your chat said, you know, the awkward truth is that the flat Earth gets in the way all the time. Well, for us, it's a relief every time it happens. Oh yeah, there's the flat Earth again. Oh yeah, you're going to need a flat Earth for that. Oh yeah, now you trust. Every step of the way, it's me slipping comfortably into a nice comfy chair or a nice warm bath. No, it's a relief. It helps me sleep at night. Really early on, I remember interviewing a guy when I was doing the debate show, not the debate show, the interview show that I did, Flat Earth UK, talking to a guy who got in touch with me out of the blue and just rang me, and I answered, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't think you'd answer." I'm like, look, I'm not exactly a massive YouTuber. Yeah, I'll just answer if someone calls. I spoke to him, and he was explaining that he was on these sleeping tablets after coming to Flat Earth. Metaphorically speaking, no, literally speaking, he had the pills, and he was like, I haven't taken these for however long it had been, as a result of sleeping easy and knowing that the Earth is flat. I'm not distressed about things coming from the sky and killing me. I'm not suddenly an insignificant speck of dust anymore. And he chucked the pills over his shoulder on camera, and said, I don't need them. I'm not distressed in the way I was. I sleep easier. Now, at the time, I remember labouring it back in the day and saying, you know, that is how it feels. It's a relief. You're suddenly not an insignificant speck of dust in an ever-expanding vacuum of nothing. You know, a pointless existence on top of a pointless planet in an ever-expanding existence of nothingness that you're very tiny in. Well,
Right.
the antithesis of that is a relief.
Yes.
Just get to the end of the point. I'm nearly there. By contrast, every bit of flat Earth that we find the road leads to, which it inevitably does, giving me relief and, you know, whatever. The opposite is true for an anti-flat earther. Gives them hatred and disdain and fear and all of those things, all negative. That's what it gives them by contrast. I'm done.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. And also, for me, it was a real relief to realize that, yeah, that stuff with NASA that just didn't make any sense with me or seemed like, why is this so subpar? Aren't you supposed to be like most expensive ever? Aren't you supposed to be pinnacle of human performance? All that, especially mentally. And then to realize, like, no, they are fake was a real relief. Like, oh, so I'm not dependent on those people for human survival because they're the only ones that have the technology to do the things and inform us about it, right? That was a big relief. Like, oh wait, we're not dependent on these freaks and their weird propaganda anymore. That was it for me too.
Yeah. Maths doesn't make your world, and up until then it did. All we've talked about all this show, or the main presentation from Brian, it's about the mathematics of a concept of a nonsense of gas falling down. And that's what we were talking about. But that's all born out of the language of mathematics and nothing more. That's all the globe is. The world that you perceived through the maths you were taught and reified into existence from birth with the first mobile that you saw dangling over your head, inferring that the lights were actually spheres, while you sang Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, How I Wonder What You Are.
Yeah, the globe was born in math and it will remain in math.
You know, you said that the other day, but go ahead, Brian. I'm sorry.
No, you go, Neil. Go on. You haven't said much.
I was just going to say, you said that the other day, that twinkle, twinkle, little star. But that little nursery rhyme in itself is kind of telling, isn't it?
What do you mean?
How I wonder what you are. And these people think that they know what they are because they're astrophysicists. No, I don't think so. You wonder what they are just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Just to step the conversation back a step or two. This is something that is bizarre. Would be bizarre for me. For me to meet, let's say, if I was in England and met Craig McNeil on the street, or if I was in Australia and met Lieu on the street, or one of the people I would know on the opposite side, like the last thing I'm going to do is walk up to him, shaking with temper or wanting an argument. It's the last thing. I'm going to walk up, hey, well, it's me, it's Brian's Logic. I'm not going to be looking for an argument about globe flat at all, because that's crazy stuff. Why would you do that on the street? But there is, I don't know, I can't say all of them, but obviously there is situations where some of the globe believers will actually approach some of us on the street with issues. It's like, why would you know you're going to look like a crazy person because you are being a crazy person at that stage. You look like one because you are being. That is, you're being crazy. Now, I don't think Ruiv would go into wanting an argument on the street, and maybe Craig wouldn't either. But there is plenty of ballers out there who would want an argument there and then on the street. Like, I would never do that. Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Unless you're in that setting, if you're on Speaker's Corner, then obviously fair enough. If you're outside a banner and you're there to do that, then that's fair enough. You're inviting it. But I know what you're getting at. You're getting at if you were just in whoever's neck of the woods by chance and you saw them, like, oh, hello, I didn't expect to see you on the street. I didn't know you lived here. That would be my response to seeing Craig. Now, you're saying that there are people who we've seen in the past. I can't remember the guy's name. I think it's M. Stone. He went up to some random flat earther and just knocked his. I think it was Nathan Thompson. Just knocked his hat off. Oh, okay. Why? There's no need for that sort of behaviour. But that's how they are. They are aggressive towards us because they hate us. We represent their own fears. We hold a mirror up to everything they hate about their own fears. They can't stand it. The only thing they can do is project their fears directly onto us and then make us accountable for them. Oh no,
Right.
It's never going to work. It's never going to absolve their fear. That's what we represent. Well, okay, it's a heavy burden for me to bear, but I don't struggle to sleep at night. They do.
We make them snap out of a dream that they believe is the reality, and what we talk about is our dream. It's a flat earther dream, right? They construct a whole parallel universe, which they mock, but it's actually the reality that they mock, and they're living in delusion. They're really stuck there, and when you're stuck in there and you're surrounded by other people stuck in exactly that same mindset position, it really does seem like, no, we're right. We're on the right side. This is real. And you believe it. Even as you have been presented with how you literally contradict yourself when you try to defend the globe. Despite all that, you'll still feel it. Like, but no, I'm surrounded by people right now and they really think exactly the same and they have the same responses to the flat earthers. So we're right after all.
I said, if you go over to Gem Pandas, they're all over there. Every single person that was here, times that by 25, and they're all over there, patting each other on the back, saying it'll be okay.
Right.
We're in the right.
Communal chanting.
Yeah.
Why
Kumbaya,
aren't we here?
circle, reinforcing their religion.
Well, the important. Why are they all over there?
But they can't come
Not
over here.
And not, but not over here, demonstrating to us why it's a ball. They tried for years, didn't they? And they've all run off, and they're in the little, as they accuse of us of, echo chamber, aren't they? And that's the only safe place for them now.
No, Nathan's mean. Nathan's mean.
Well,
He's
there you
not
go.
respectful, so we boycott him.
Yeah, you see what I mean? You can't
Yep.
deal with the it's not the argument. It's because Nathan's mean. Yeah.
I am mean because I deal
Yeah.
with liars. That's the problem. I've become a bit jaded in that regard. Maybe they're right, and maybe you are right to fear how horrible I am.
Yeah, Nathan,
that
you're
guy, I asked.
unreasonable. You keep
No,
interrupting people with the second half of your sentence while they're trying to start a new sentence. You keep doing that. It's really rude.
Right.
Are
Like the
you
other guy
hurting
tried to get him to talk
feelings?
about we talk about clouds and stuff. Like with you, the clouds, right? Tried to talk about the clouds not falling down. You ignored me and reiterated your point about the horizon. It's me being mean.
Which one?
Silence. See? Silence. I
Which
asked him about the clouds,
horizon?
like the window of the plane he wasn't on. Yeah, the clouds not going down, go boom boom.
He's
Yeah?
gone.
Well, they've been
He's
formed
gone.
from gas that went up, but it was ignored. That's not me being mean. It's me winning. They can't bear to lose, even when they're lying about planes they haven't been on, that don't have windows to see out of. You know, even then they lose. Even with all the lies and deceit on their side, they'll call me mean when I win. It's
No,
okay.
Well,
Maybe I
they've
am.
been promised
you
to
did
end
call
up
him
on the
really
winning
well.
side. Sorry.
You did call him really well. Flatman Can was chatting with him, and he's pleading his innocence in the Ballbusters chat, and he says something. Honestly, my uncle, there it is. He said they had no windows, but my uncle drives them, and I get to sit in the cockpit regularly. And Flatman said, "You mean flies them? Yeah." This guy is. My uncle drives aeroplanes for a living. I'm 3 years old. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if this guy is genuine. If you are, mate, go and get yourself together. But you can't come in purporting yourself like this, given the history we have with Muppets, and expect us to actually humour you. We're all very amiable chaps, but there's a level, dude. You know.
Well, he was right about one thing, Adam. He said he wasn't that smart.
Yeah, but what someone says, look, it's not smart, regardless of how smart he is or not. It's not a very smart thing to do to join a panel if your intention is to try to be sneaky. What's the point? What is the point? Now, I'm not saying for definite he did that. It appeared he did that. But the point is, what is the point? Why waste your time? It's like trolling.
Doubt, Ryan. It's to throw doubt around. It's for doubt.
But it's like but it's like trolling. I've heard Bevan them. I don't know when it was, some show back. I don't know how many weeks ago. Talking about somebody who was a troll, and he was a very sharp troll, and how smart this guy was. And it's just like, what is smart about wasting your time trolling on the internet? That's not smart. That's wasting your time. Yeah. I know why QE's laughing, because he'd be the same thinking. Why would you do that?
I agree with what you're saying, but if there's somebody new listening and he throws a vomit comment in there, and I believe in gravity, but I'm on your side too, it gets people that are a little like confused about this whole topic.
Come on, Neil. Come on, Neil. Go. He's gonna come in here with peddling that pedestrian horseshit a bunch of flat Earth ninjas. He's delusional.
Well, he's a liar then. What is he, a liar?
Liar, delusional, or is he ignorant?
Compulsive liar. Somebody with no shame that doesn't care. They've got no humility. So what difference does it make? They're just looking to occupy their time. Mental masturbation. If he can win, he gets the dupest delight. If he doesn't, he's a faceless, nameless nobody. So there's no loss to him.
Are you saying my uncle doesn't drive planes?
Maybe he's a liar, delusional, and ignorant, all at the same time. In an unpredictable mix.
Making the Globers look bad no matter what.
I'll tell Jim Pandas.
Yeah. Come on, Brian. Go ahead.
I just want to say, like, Jim Pandas is kind of like a men's shed. You ever seen those men's shed things where a load of guys who are kind of middle and older age hang out in a shed together, making shelves? You know what I mean? This it's akin to that kind of a thing. I don't know, like a sad version of that.
They didn't make shelves, Brian. They made a Cavendish out of wood.
Yeah, that's right.
Like a kettle running off the electrical circuit for the lighting and like a poor mag stashed in the corner, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that kind of nonsense. Yeah. They'll have a cup of tea at 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm not putting them down if people like to do that, grand. But that's what the ballers hangouts have become. They've become like that. They're jaded. They feel like they're jaded. That's why they don't. Their responses to us these days are either just stupid stuff from the likes of Johnny Harris or Dave McKeegan, who are just YouTubers. That's all they are. They don't even know their own globe model. I'm after correcting Dave McKeegan, I think 3 or 4 times. I could have corrected him way more times on his own model. And he goes against it. It's like, I'm actually giving you information here and you're ignoring it. You know what I mean? So it's either that or it's nonsense. Like we have pretenders coming into the show trying to come in and pretend they're something that they're not, or ask stupid questions. How many degrees in it? How many degrees in the internals of a triangle? No, stupid stuff like that. It's like that's all they've got left, and we are blasé about it. Like we can be multitasking with this subject. So you could be fixing your car engine and also handing out answers that can't be beaten. We're kind of blasé about it, and it's not from an arrogant. Come on.
The topics they're attacking, because if you watch over time, the things change, and we used to argue over stuff. Since the Black Swan and probably before, it tends to have been them trying to pick faults in our stuff. If you look at all the stuff with celestial navigation now, look at what they bring. They don't bring anything realistically that supports a ball anymore. They're just desperate to show that our evidence of flatness or non-curvature is false. But they don't actually have anything to support their own claims anymore. The best they have is kind of attacks and this is what's more the level. See, we used to battle and there'd be Urs and Ruhif. All these guys have dropped off. They don't come up to the battlefront anymore. All they'll do is stay on their own channels and invite newbies in. And all they do is throw, like, the Keegan and that to the wolves if they would ever dare come to us. But there is no battlefront anymore. Just these weak attacks. And the next level is what we've seen this past week or so. I think it's number 3, because there was that guy before Matthew came in. The other guy, and tonight I'm dubious about. I think that's the next wave, is kind of like duplicitous idiots that claim they're flat earthers. Trying to get, as Nathan said earlier, sound bites. Because that's what smelt to me on Thursday. Just the crap this guy was speaking. He was just trying to get one of us to engage and say something in the crap. And I think they're playing on us being gentlemen. Yeah, being nice and being polite. If somebody is a newbie coming in, we take the time to listen. And that's what we did Thursday to our detriment. That seems to be the next pathetic tactic, which is really an indictment as to their argument. Shocking one.
Well, they're going back to their original and most devastating attack they ever had on us, and that's character assassination. And that's what they continually do. They keep on going back to character assassination. That's what they've done throughout the centuries. That's what they're trying to do today. It's not working as well for them, but it's still working because they have consensus on their side, and they have channels like Johnny Harris, Dave McKeegan, all these nonsense channels. They may not have millions of subscribers, but they have a lot more subscribers than the average flat earther, because they're allowed to have. So, it's like it's easy to, because all they are straw man channels, putting out straw man arguments and incorrect arguments that the public don't know any better about, and they have a load of people who are cheering them on in the background, and a lot of it is there. A lot of what comes out is just based around, as you said, sound bites, trying to make us look stupid because we have to be. We can't be not stupid. That's their problem. They can't allow the public to think that we're not stupid, and most of them can't allow themselves to think we're not stupid. Because as soon as they accept that, hang on, this person I'm dealing with actually is not stupid, you don't have to be a genius, but if they accept you're not stupid, then that puts you on a level playing field with them. And they can't have that. Psychologically, they can't. And that's where they're at. That's my 2 cents on it.
And with that.
Right. They can't get into a real debate, right? That's it. They can only be posturing, basically, and doing their globe storytelling time and not be criticized about it. They can't handle critical inquiry. And so having a real conversation on the level with a flat earther about mechanics, about flat earth and the globe, they can't really afford it.
And with that.
Did you want me to round
When
out?
was the last time they had
Hold on a second, Neil. We're rounding out. Let me first state that I just want to get everyone up to date. Brian, thank you very much for that killer presentation. I love that thing. There will be no Q. Hold on a second. Oh, you're saying okay. You're welcome. So there will be no QE live on Tuesday, and there will be no BALLBUSTERS next Saturday or Saturday after that. Okay, because I'll be gone for the first week, Oklahoma, and then something came up for the second week. So I just want to make sure everyone's on the same sheet of music. Don't be upset. All right, and we'll get to episode 100 for BALLBUSTERS. I know, I understand, at some point. So, yes, Nathan, you may round out, sir.
Okie dokie then. With that, I will say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the BALLBUSTERS for making today's live show possible. But more importantly, a massive thank you to all of you for tuning in live, smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. A massive thank you to the only guy who came in and got a chance to speak today, liar though he was. And that's about it. We will see you all in the next BALLBUSTERS.
The idea of celestial navigation on a globe, which I understand you disagree with, doesn't use right triangles.
What the hell did you just say?
The idea of celestial navigation on a globe, which I understand you disagree with, doesn't use right triangles.
From second grade doofus, well, duh. A right-angled triangle is a triangle with one of the angles as 90 degrees.
Okay, so you also mentioned celestial navigation. Do you know what an elevation angle is?
Yeah, it's how high above 90 degrees a star appears, like the angular elevation.
So 90 degrees would be the zenith and 90 along a baseline to your position, correct?
Yeah.
From second grade doofus, well, duh. A right-angled triangle is a triangle with one of the angles as 90 degrees.
90 degrees from that position on the Earth to the star is straight up. That's 90 degrees, yes. The idea of celestial navigation on a globe doesn't use right triangles. The position directly under the star is 90 degrees.
From second grade doofus, well, duh. A right-angled triangle is a triangle with one of the angles as 90 degrees.
90 degrees, that's 90 degrees, yes. 90 degrees doesn't use right triangles. 90 degrees, that's 90 degrees.
Thank you.
The baseline we will be travelling along and are navigating is functionally and mathematically flat, isn't it, Matthew?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So
yeah,
Earth, that would be the Earth. That would be the Earth that we will be navigating is flat, isn't it, Matthew?
Yeah, we're navigating on the Earth, and functionally it's flat, and we navigate along a flat map, of course.
Welcome to Flat Earth, Matthew. That's correct. From a university-grade mathematician, for all of you ladies and gentlemen, that will be trimmed out and posted everywhere. That's a university-grade mathematician telling you, the audience, that Earth is functionally measured and navigated flat. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Of course, that's why all maps are flat.